Hello, everybody. I am just going to do a little bit of an introduction before we get started here. I am Barrett, and I will be joined in a moment by Mastro, Saykoya, and TheSneakyDragon, and this will be the first Wargroove podcast we've had in a while. But I just wanted to say a brief introduction and welcome to the podcast before we get started. So, without further ado, I'm going to unmute Discord, and we're going to get into this.
Heard of that.
Hello.
Yeah,
Hey.
let's not continue that conversation.
Okay. I won't ask, I won't inquire. But welcome everybody. If you want to just give yourselves a brief introduction, I guess we'll go left to right. So Mastro.
Hey, I play this game like a lot, and I also talk about this more than I play it. Hey,
Alright, good introduction. Saykoya.
Hey, I play this game the best. That's right, that's me. I'm last tournament's winner. Let's go with that. I also started making spreadsheets to calculate damage stuff. So you better be scared.
Okay, you're also number one seed going into the event.
Oh yeah, that too.
Finally, SneakyDragon.
I timed this bite of food very poorly. Welcome to Wargroove. I'm the TheSneakyDragon.
Okay, well we'll let you eat your food for a couple minutes before we go into the rest of the podcast. But yeah, welcome in everybody. This is the first time we've had a podcast in a while. I'm actually hoping to make this like a regular thing throughout the tournament. Master has been bugging me about it, and I definitely agree that like this has been a long time coming. And also, like, it would be kind of nice to have this like once in a while outside of the tournament season, and we could talk about stuff that isn't just competitive. We could talk about campaigns and stuff like things people in the community have been making. So hope everybody looks forward to that. But for now, we have lots of tournament stuff to cover. Hope everybody's excited and ready to get into this.
yeah, and the tournament has a new name. It's no longer Groove of War. It's now the Wargroove World Championship. Sounds important, right?
Yeah.
Well, I've been calling it that since the beginning. I don't know what you guys have been calling it.
So I guess to just briefly go into that, Groove of War, I mean, it was a fine name for a tournament, but I think when it comes to people who are just like Googling like Wargroove Tournament or Wargroove Championship, it makes far more sense to just have it be called the Wargroove Championship. It's much easier for people to understand. And yeah, just like any newcomer, like you want to just make that much better for people to find. So at the end of the day, like SEO is like just like the thing, right? Like you just want people to be able to find your stuff.
And it feels important.
Yeah, it does feel more like we're doing like a thing that's a big deal. So I am looking forward to kind of getting into that more. But first of all, before we had the championship, we had the opens, and I mean, I just want to give them like kind of a brief mention. I don't know how long you guys want to spend on this topic, but we did do a series of open qualifiers, and yeah, I mean, you all played through them. Like, how was your experience playing through the opens?
I mean, Saykoya can go first since he won the first open, securing first seed.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was like kind of an appetizer, I guess. Like people weren't like super prepped on the maps yet, so I could still do some weird stuff, but still had fun. I fought some pretty good players back then, and like for example, Skyro just has practiced like ever since Open 1. Skyro has like improved massively, so I don't think if we fight again, it's gonna be I'm gonna go into it as relaxed. Let's
Oh
say.
yeah, Skyro wasn't that good when you played him, I think, but right after he started grinding ranked, and we can talk more about Skyro in the matchup section, because I want to talk more about Skyro later. Yeah, but talking about the opens, like for anybody that doesn't know, in case somebody is watching this for the first time and has no clue what the opens are. We played 4 opens, and basically the top 4 from each open qualified for the championships, which is like a 16-person tournament. So if you were first at first open, you're now first seed for the championships, etc. First 4 from first open are first 4 seeds. First 4 from second open are the
5
next 4
through 8,
seeds.
and then
Yeah.
9 through 12, and then 13 through 16.
Yeah. So
I guess
obviously,
with-
if you win the first open, you can't play the next open, then all the next opens, and etc.
It's worth saying on that front that because of the way it was arranged, there are some nuttiness in the seedings. For example, I couldn't enter a qualifier until the third one. I just had a lot going on, and then I ended up qualifying in the third qualifier. And I think that was true for some people as well, where they just kind of entered the first qualifier they could. So it does create an interesting situation with the seedings, where I think they more create interesting matchups rather than being very accurate. So we could have some very spicy matches within the first or second rounds.
Well, the other thing that happened that affected seedings was a bunch of upsets. And I'm at fault for this because I wasn't taking the opens very seriously. I was trying to learn a new commander that I was really bad at, and I lost, a lot of sets because of it. And so while I was, one of the favorites, I'd like to believe, I lost twice. I lost the first and the second open. So I also qualified on the third open. And I'm very underseeded. So, somebody's gonna get unlucky in the first round. You're gonna see when we go to matchups.
I wouldn't underestimate your opponent, Mastro. I disobeyed's pretty good.
Don't spoil the bracket. We're gonna get there.
We're
All
gonna
right,
yeah.
get there.
all right.
It wasn't just me who got upset. There were a lot of upsets. Like we were calling open one, especially like the tournament of the upsets. Like half of the sets or more were upsets. It was crazy. But yeah, I think the more established players were thinking of the opens more as a warm up, and then the newer players really wanted to qualify and tried their best, and they got a lot of wins.
I don't know what you're talking about. There wasn't that many upsets in Open One, right?
Haha. Well, I mean, the final winner was not an upset.
Overall, I liked the because like going down to one tournament a year, I guess is the other thing, and the Opens kind of took full advantage of that. Like they ran quite a large amount of time. So we definitely saw like a lot of people being active over that time, and I mean, from a viewer perspective, I really enjoyed it. Like I really liked having a very consistent, well, mostly consistent. Like we'll do better with that next year. As far as like scheduling goes, but being able to just be like, oh, okay, like every month or so, like there's always going to be like a bracket for me to follow.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool from a viewer's perspective. I agree, and also from a competitor's perspective. Unless you're Saykoya and you win the first one, and then you're like, "But I wanted to play more."
That's
Yes.
me.
Meanwhile, I
Maybe
was
I
like,
should have like lost a few, like more than one game, so I get to play more games in the Open too.
"Yeah, maybe I should have tried harder because I wanted to talk about the game more than I wanted to play it." So maybe I should have won the first one. Maybe I should have played well.
I think, Mastro, what you're doing is fine. You just need to say that you're washed and become a YouTuber.
Oh, we can't all follow the same path, Sneaky. I will be known as your copy. I won't be able to tread my own path, make a name for myself.
Okay.
You'll
We
become
covered
the sneaky Mastro.
So
It's
I
never
guess,
been that.
does anyone have any final thoughts on the Opens before I move on to like the more focusing on the championships itself?
I think we
Not
can
for
move
me.
on.
It was a good way to like see like other people play, and like we love playing the game. We also love watching the game. So Yeah, except that one game where there was a lethal every turn for like 7 turns in a row, we were all screaming at the screen.
And that was pretty funny.
Yeah, but yeah, it was cool to watch games, and it makes it's a good way to like get a bit familiar with the players too.
Oh, okay, I think we can move on.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess like I'm gonna use this point to transition from the opens to the championship. One thing the opens was also used for is map testing. And also I guess like allowing the players to prep maps as well. Like we didn't really want to go into the main event with like a bunch of new maps, and then we've had people complain in the past, rightly so, that the map pool gets announced like 3 weeks before the event, and it's like, oh, like we have 3 weeks to learn all these maps. So one thing we wanted to do was take maps that had only been in opens and then put those in the championships. So there was a path of maps were featured in Test Your Metal first, and then they would go into the opens. So I think there was 1 or 2 maps that went straight into an open because like people generally very much liked them. And then only the maps that were used in the opens went to championships. And then we're gonna get to maps in a moment, but how did you all feel about that process?
So I think that that's a great process because it lets everybody kind of have more of the same amount of experience with each map. But I wish it had been announced like very clearly and certainly early on. Like we are only going to use the TYM maps for the opens, and we're only going to use open maps for the championship. If that was clearly stated, I might have actually done prep.
Yeah,
But that's kind of my only complaint. I think it's a great system. I think it's more fair than anything we've ever done.
yeah, I second everything Sneaky said, but I'm also gonna add to it that had we known, like from the very beginning, had I known at least, I would have pushed harder to have In Memoriam and CND in TYMs and then in Open, so we could put them in the tournament because they're the best maps, and they
Eh.
weren't in TYM, so we didn't get. I was like, oh yeah, do you actually disagree? No, you disagree. Yeah, well, you disagree about the
Well, I
CND.
mean, one of them I don't know, so I can't say, but
But about Memo, you absolutely agree. It's your favorite map, right? I think it's.
well, it's been a while since I played it, so I don't actually know.
I don't think that map belongs in tournaments. If you need 100 hours of practice on a frickin' map to just have the basics down, that is not fair to people who haven't seen it before.
Well, that's basically Headland, right?
Ugh.
It took me like 8 games before I remembered how to play that.
Well, the thing with Headland is that you can do okay pretty easily in Headland, but the ceiling is very high. In Memoriam and C&D have ceilings that are a bit higher than Headlands, but close. But they also have very high floors. If you have no clue how to play the map, you can't even do okay. You like lose immediately to somebody who kind of knows the map. In Headland, if
The
you're the
problem with those
better
two
player,
maps, you just lose immediately unless you've put in 100 hours. That's not a good experience.
that
I'm
said,
happy that those did not make it.
that said, they are the highest quality maps. Like they get the best games. They are the most balanced, in my opinion, at least. And I'm a pretty prolific map prepper. Uh, well, at least in Wargroove One, Memo is quite a bit different due to the changes in mechanics. But in Wargroove One, my final prep on Memo was like after all this prep, now it opens up, and then a bunch of different strategies are all around equally good and all super viable. Like so many COs are basically all almost as good as each other. And after bans, you have like what 7 viable CO picks. Like not just viable, like it's very hard to distinguish which is better. Like 7 very reasonable CO picks. The map,
Okay.
I swear, is crazy good. Anyway, but we shouldn't.
Yeah, we're going onto a map that isn't in the map pool, so but I do just want to say I agree, Sneaky. I think we could have done a better job talking about like how the process worked for map releases. From our perspective, we thought we had done that, but we can do better in the future. And now everybody knows how it works. So going into the future, like the process is there, right? Like it goes into
Yeah,
TYM
the
and
process
then
was
opens.
great. The information management maybe not the best, but now everybody knows it's fine. We can keep the same process, and it should be ideal.
Yeah, and we can be very upfront about how this works in the future as well. We can be like, hey, like, when we start doing TYMs later in the year, when those are starting to be like ones for prepping maps for the next tournament season, then we'll be very clear with people like, hey, like these are going to be potentially used in tournaments later. But okay, so I guess like we just go straight into the map pools. So first map that's going to get featured, we were talking about it earlier, is Headland. And I can bring that up on screen as well.
Nice.
So
Yeah, and Headland,
I,
I think the most popular map, right?
I think so as well.
Everybody loves Headland.
I will admit that everyone loves headlines except me. I have always hated this map, but everyone else likes it. So I will let you two talk about it.
I mean, you should talk about it too,
I'm
because you're
curious
like
why.
the minority opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to know why you don't like it.
Oh no, it's just personal reasons. It's entirely personal reasons. I just don't like the flow of this map. There are these finicky early interactions that you hyper optimize, and it's very preppy. And if you lose them, then you can't do anything creative the rest of the game. It's not how I like to play. That's my only issue with it.
Okay, so Sneaky doesn't like it when you can get an advantage through prep.
Yeah, basically.
That's almost every map, I swear. I guess you should like play Gilgamesh every game.
I wonder how much of that comes from Headland just being around for so long.
Yeah, it does feel like if you like the level of what prep is required to get an advantage is so high on Headland because everyone knows the map, so you're not gonna surprise someone with like a new big thing because they're like, oh, I've already seen that.
I mean, I disagree. Like the final
Like,
new things we discovered for Headland were after it was already out for 2 years, and it surprised people. Like now,
yeah,
it's not gonna surprise
but
people
now that's
anymore.
already happened.
I mean, sure, but I'm saying even though the map was around for a long time, even like a tournament ago, and it's still people get surprised. So I don't know. Maybe even now, not me and you, but like some people who are less up to date with prep might be surprised, right? Hmm.
I don't know. I feel like Headland is the kind of map where like you can go into the game being very confident on the map, and then you don't know what happened, and you exit the game. You're like, I don't actually know the map anymore,
Oh, that's happened to me when I thought Zeronic.
and that's just I don't know. Feels like the map magically changes, but it doesn't actually.
But yeah, before we go on about that anymore, like the basics for somebody who doesn't know about Headland. So Headland, in a way, is one of the best maps because it succeeds in having a very low floor and a very high ceiling. Like we said about all those things, all the prep you need all that prep to compete at the top level. But at a lower level, you can pick up Headland and pretty easily do an okay opening and just play the game. It feels easy to pick up as a map, but there's also so much depth. And it's also interesting, pretty dynamic. It leads to enjoyable games for most players, at least. I mean, yeah, everybody
Oh,
loves it. It's great at basically everything. It's super high quality. And yeah,
I also
I
want to
mean,
add that there has been a bunch of different versions of Headland over the years, and I think all of them have been enjoyable to play on, at least from my perspective.
yeah. I will say this like version, like the one that hasn't changed in a while. Basically the Headland, I guess. uh Probably has the most unit variety like that are available of all the map versions. I think that's also a part of what makes the map so good is that like on some maps, there's different ways to play them, but you'll build the same units like every time you have the money. Here, like, sure, if you're ahead, you can spam golems, but like that's just because you're ahead. If you're not ahead, then you actually have to budget for stuff, and then like most units have a viable way of like affecting the map, basically.
Yeah. Another interesting thing about the map is that pikes are pretty good at it, but pike balloon is way harder to do here than on most other maps. However, you sometimes just do pikes from the other racks, one or two, because knights are good on the mountain racks, let's say on the non-CO racks. So sometimes your CO racks wants a pike or two to just counter the knights, and that the way the timings work out is that it can just walk forward. Pikes almost never can just walk forward, but here they can, and that balances pikes out. I mean, in a way, it gives even more choices. It's what Koya said. Like on most maps, pikes are only good when pike balloon is good. Here, there are cases where you just solo pike. When have you seen that in other maps? Probably never.
Yeah. It's always funny when you just build one pike, it walks, and then exactly at the time it reaches the village, there's a knight pointing at it, and you're like, haha, it was my plan all along.
Yeah.
Um,
I
I
mean,
will
it
say,
happens in other maps too, but it's way rare.
yeah, on Headland, there's also like I think what another thing that really makes for variety of games is that you have conflicting early game and mid game objectives. So like early game, you want your commander to go vertically and like capture some villages and like hold them. But then mid game, you want your commander to be on the other side of the map like instantly. So what happens is that you can't actually do that unless like you bring a balloon over, but that's also a commitment.
And that's too late sometimes.
Yeah. So what happens is if you commit to an early transition and you fail it, now you're behind. If you manage to do the transition early, then you're ahead. But it's also like doing it gives your opponents like multiple ways to react. They can either like try to stop your transition, or like they can go, oh, you're transitioning too early, I'm gonna take the villages where your commander left. Or you can go, are you transitioning too slowly, I'm gonna transition faster than you. Or you
Yeah.
can your or you can go, your transition doesn't have enough power, I'm gonna stand my ground and your transition is ineffective. So yeah,
And then
that's
what complicates this even further is that CO matchups also play into this a lot.
yeah. If you have some commanders, like holding your ground is easier, and some just have more mobility or like are scarier to commanders, so your transition is easier.
Yeah. And some
But
might.
then like you don't pick your commander just for that too.
Yeah.
I think the one thing I really appreciate about this map is that there's just such a wild variety of game states that have taken place on it. Like I've seen both barracks get flipped in different games. I've seen like tower getting flipped is like fairly common as well. Like commander lethals all over the map, various different kinds of pushes, various, I mean, like you were saying, different units being built. I think I've seen everything built out of the tower. Is
Yeah.
not that usual. I can't remember. Rifles are legal on this map, I think, in the current version.
No, I
Yeah.
don't think they are. Wait,
Oh, okay.
rifles are legal?
I don't think they are, no.
They're not? I might have been hallucinating.
I don't remember seeing them at least. Maybe nobody has ever built them
I
in a
think
game.
they're legal on pool land, but not this version.
Oh, okay.
I guess
That
we'll
might.
take a quick moment to mention pull-ins. There was another version of this map that had frogs on it, made by community member Sechon. That map had a couple of issues.
It was a really cool map, but it wasn't the most competitive version, let's say.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the main thing is that like Sejhan added a village, like to say, oh, you need a bit more money to build the frog, and then
That just becomes column money, actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe don't add a village when the econ is fine-tuned after multiple map versions. I don't know. It
Yeah.
was still like fun to play around with frogs, but
So for
it's not
everybody
like
that
a
didn't super
long-term map
understand
idea.
this, because we need to make this accessible to new players, golems are very, very strong in Wargroove, and the way you balance them is you fine-tune the econ such that only the player who is ahead can build golems easily. Like if they're very ahead, then yeah, they can use golems as a conversion unit. But when econ is too high, then players are just both spamming golems and the game becomes less interesting. There is less unit variety and stuff. Golems can be over centralizing because they have no good counters.
All right.
Dragon kinda, but like the real counter to Golem is Treb, but Treb is too strong, so we usually ban it or make it unviable in other ways.
Treb has never been the counter to Golem. It doesn't work. The,
I
the
mean,
Treb only puts the Golem in a crit range and then proceeds to murder the Treb.
Treb is just a counter to everything, really.
oh no, but like you have swords, so Treb actually does counter Golem. Like there is a wall in front of the Treb, and then the Golem
Mm,
can never.
So I just checked. Rifle is like buildable. It's not even limited. It's just that it's not. It's not always like. I don't think there's many games where like you actually want a rifle.
I mean, again, as Barrett said, Headland
It
has
can be
many
useful,
different
yeah.
game states. So like I haven't seen Headland hard stall though very often. So rifle maybe not the best. Like it's a pretty dynamic map. I guess it could stall. It's not impossible that you stall on Headland, but it's not the easiest to stall. And the rifle isn't in a great, doesn't start in the best position. But yeah, I could see rifle being played in some.
If I inadvertently just like change the meta of this map during this podcast. Okay, so any final thoughts on Headland before we move on? We've been talking about it for quite a while now at this point.
Remember, Koi Pond in the middle is a lethal factory. So yeah, don't like think about it when you put your commander next to it. Because
Oh,
like
There's been
two
many,
swords
many
will
dogs and
suicide into
swords.
you, and
Yeah.
and then you die.
oh, another last thing. Like due to the geography, it's one of the few maps where you want to spam knights. Well, not necessarily spam. Where your knight racks is usually your non-CO racks on this map, whereas in most other maps is usually the CO rack. This means like your attaching racks is your non-CO racks, and that's why CO, as Koya said before, wants to front switch because you like CO to be where you attack. That's the better strategy usually. But tactically, CO wants to be on the other side. That's why that happens because the geography makes knights better there, and there's also tower, which is also good for attacking. So yeah, that's how all those interesting interactions start due to the unique geography and tower placement, leading to the offensive units being more buildable on the side where CO isn't. And I think I've said everything I need. Sneaky, any final thoughts on the map?
I just
And
don't
yeah.
like
Why do you not like it?
it. We've explained that. We can move on whenever y'all are ready.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we got
too
6
much
more
prep.
maps to get through, so let's
Yeah.
move on to the next one. So next one on the list is Gilgamesh. So we're gonna move on to that one now.
Re-Gilgamesh.
Re-Gilgamesh, that's true.
Oh, this is like the picture of Sedskhan's Gilgamesh. It's fine. It's not very different. So yeah, Sedskhan made the Gilgamesh port.
Barrett, get the banhammer out.
But
No,
Sedskhan's.
wait, Gilgamesh. When Sejhan made a port, he added a port.
Oh, he had two. He had like a straight port and the frog version. This is
Oh,
Sedskhan's
okay.
straight port. I know because he doesn't have pillars on the flagstone. My version is properly decoed with pillars. But anyway, my version also has the cuter mountains. But anyway, the geography is the same otherwise, so we can keep this on screen. And Gilgamesh, I really love the map, but golems have been banned on it for a very long time because golems and mountain were oppressive here, or so many people said. I was against the ban, but I was bad at the game back then, so maybe my evaluation wasn't the best. Anyway, golems can't go on mountain anymore in Wargroove 2. So when Setshan ported the map, I asked him to unban golems, and he didn't. So I ported the map and unbanned golems myself. I also unbanned rifles, which I'm not super sure about. But most people aren't even capping hideout. It's very out of the way. You need to actually spend an action that you wouldn't otherwise spend to cap it. It's literally on the corner of the map. And although the map used to be a stall fest, that was because of the lack of golems, making it very hard to convert. In part, it's still, I think, kind of stally and spears are still good, but I don't think rifles will be oppressive. So we now have Gilgamesh, but with most of the units back. I think only Treb is back now. So yeah, Re-Gilgamesh. It's a super easy map to learn, and it doesn't have super high prep. It doesn't have a very high skill ceiling. So it's the new player map, in my opinion. Like, if you're a new player, I recommend starting with Gilgamesh. But it's also very balanced and very good for like tournament play. And I'm guessing Sneaky likes it because I don't think you can get a big competitive advantage with like lots of prep. Again, low ceiling. It's a bit stally. That's the only issue. Hopefully the columns fix that a little bit. But other than that, I really, really like the map.
Okay, well, I feel like Sneaky just got called out. So, Sneaky, what are your thoughts on Gilgamesh?
I agree with the dang thing you said during that assessment. No, like I have complicated feelings about this map. I used to like it, but I feel like it started to get over science, and now the way it plays is a little dull. Like it just kind of. I feel like the initial game state is boring. Like you have to open in a certain way, very specific way, and then you just kind of something happens,
But
but you
Sneaky,
can't create what happens. It's sort of forced upon you.
that's how you avoid prep. Like, if you don't have it go this way, if you want it to be super interesting and many different ways to open, then somebody's gonna have better science on the different ways to open, and they're gonna prep gap you, and then you're gonna hate. Like, this is a catch 22.
No. Look, I didn't say that there's a way for me to be happy, Mastro.
I remember this map was the first game I played Sneaky on in tournament in Grove War 4, and he lethaled me. Can't believe that.
Lethaled a lot of people on this map. This is the map that got Caesar banned.
Yeah, I remember that match in particular as well.
Oh, Mage hits village and then sacks. Oh, that was so cool.
That was really hype. Like, that was like one
Yeah.
of the smartest plays I've seen.
And we never saw Caesar again after that.
Hey, Caesar is legal now, and some people don't ban him.
Hey, you can still do that hit village sack. Like, that works there. So,
Well, the mage, yeah. The dragon and knight that were also there, those don't really. Yeah.
Well, I mean, actually, I'm probably, well, should I say that? Should I like opening trig people on Gilgamesh?
I mean, if you got tournament secrets, you can keep them to yourself for now. I don't mind too much, but
Well, I mean, it's kind of Skyro's thing, so I don't think I should spill it for him, you know?
oh yeah, if it's someone else's prep, then yeah, like don't. But now that someone's heard this, they're gonna be like, oh no, do I ban Gilgamesh against Skyro? I will say that like I'm not the biggest Gilgamesh fan. We definitely seen some great games on it, but like I generally agree with Sneaky. I think from my perspective, it's been around a long time, and I think it's kind of like past its best almost. Maybe we'll see some good games on it, but I think of all the maps that we're going to see this tournament, this is one I would be hesitant to like see in the future unless people figure out some stuff with it. But
I think I've put into words what I don't like about it. It doesn't have a mid game.
Yeah, I mean, walling can be pretty easy. So, like, you will often have like armies that are actually super close to each other, but don't actually want to attack each other, which is kind of funny.
But you
But yeah,
guys, with
it's
Trebs,
a
those
good.
things might change, right?
I don't. Crabs aren't
Treb,
the
I
map.
meant golems. Okay, I can't speak or think. I guess
Yeah,
all this.
yeah, and I mean,
Uh,
Golem is the unit you want to break these things, I guess. But you need to budget for Golem, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was always
Um,
saying. I was saying golem ban is bad because it makes the kill given more stally, and that's why
I mean,
I don't hate stalling.
when they're on mountains.
Yeah, sure. Then they make it more stally, maybe understandable. Okay, but I'm hoping that this version of guild with golems, but no mountain golems, uh, could be a bit better than every other version of guild. Is it gonna be like so amazing that we'll want to have it for every other tournament? I don't think so, but I think it deserves a spot here, even if
Mm,
it's not the best map here, or even in the top half.
yeah, I will say like Gilgamesh is like stally, but not in the same way that like other maps can stall, where like the map just has some areas that are too big and you don't want to attack. Like in this, uh, like it's easy to wall, but you have tools to break that. So at the end of the day, like every map can stall if both players want to stall, but I think you can like, because the places where you want to stall are also like close to enemy production, so it's not too hard to bring back some dynamic to the map,
Yeah,
I'd say.
Gilgamesh is stally, but it's not like super stally. It's not bad map stally. It's still a good map.
yeah,
But
Yeah.
for a good map, it's kind of stally.
yeah, it's like a solid like 7 out of 10 map kind of thing.
Anyway, anybody else
Yeah, any
have any
final
closing
thoughts,
statements?
or shall we move on to Locust after this?
Uh, Dragon nerf makes the map more like you have more options early. It's not just, oh, let's Dragon Turbo every game.
That never worked anyway.
What? No, it did.
For Groove War 7, my prep was the Dragon Turbo
Yeah,
every
it was
game.
also my prep. Like, you prefer P2 because first Dragon Turbo.
It
Uh,
didn't work.
Yeah,
It worked for like that one little bit of time before the map changed again.
I think that was
No, I think it worked.
no. I think it was this version of the map. Well, this without the
Like,
golems. Now that golems exist, you could just get a golem a bit later. Anyway.
No gentleman zing to Wargroove 1 to prove a point, so shall we move on?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So next map, as I mentioned before, Locus Among Us. So I think this is the right image. It's the one that's on the event page. So
This map was really good until people figured out how to play it.
I mean,
this is the map where you'll see the most frogs, but it's also because it's the map where you'll see the most golems.
that's fair. I mean, it was toxic in that you could golem bards very easily before. Now you can't do that anymore. I mean, you can still do it, but it's not so easy. You can do it as easy.
I mean, golem barge doesn't actually speed up the golem, funny enough.
Yeah, now it doesn't. Before it super sped it up. Even now it can slightly speed it up, right? Oh, actually, maybe.
okay, so
But yeah, I mean,
what's the problem with the map, Sneaky?
I actually can't comment on that before the tournament.
Oh, okay.
Lol.
wow,
Wow. Well,
no comment.
I mean, I think people
Um,
know about the Krakens, so we can talk about the Krakens, right?
yeah, it's interesting because it's a map that goes to late game quite easily, So you kind of want a late game commander. But if your commander can deal with Krakens early game, like your Lytra or Wolfar, for example, then you can have an early lead quite easily too, because the opponent won't have the Kraken easy game plan, I guess.
Yeah, I was thinking
So
about that.
you have a choice to make when you select your commander, and it's very telling what you pick. It's
It's very
interesting.
binary. Like, if you pick Wolfar, you're picking Wolfar to kill the Kraken. You're not picking Wolfar to maybe make some of one of many kind of attacks. Like, either you kill Kraken, or I mean zone Kraken and get a big econ advantage early and then golem them, or you're not gonna have a very fun time, right?
Yeah. I will say though, like Wolfar and Lytra don't fall off super hard because they're good against golems. So yeah, it's just that they're not pistol.
I mean,
I feel
Pistol
like
also kind of deals with the Kraken, so maybe ban Pistol if you play this mob.
I mean maybe ban pistol every map.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, Pistol is uniquely busted here. She deals with Kraken pretty okay, I think. And then
Nah,
also
because like even if you
it's
groove the
cool.
Kraken, it doesn't die. Then you get grabbed and
Oh,
cool.
my idea is that if you send a dragon to deal with the Kraken, it doesn't finish it.
Oh
But if
well,
you
I
Whoa.
pistol
mean
it
that's
first.
sure, but like I don't know.
Okay, so it sounds like some people have some secret tech here. I mean, just like to give people like
Frogs are good on the map, but don't
I've
build
seen
them
a lot.
too early.
I've seen a lot of good frog play here. I mean, I will say, I guess for people who might like not be unfamiliar with the map, what's the kind of like general game plan that people go in for this?
So Seo
Mage
tends to push
opening.
far. Oh yeah,
Like
Maze
you
opening
want a
is one
mage
that push.
behind your commander. That's the opening.
Yeah.
And then usually people build a Kraken to kick commander out of the water area. And then like it depends. Commander can go middle, commander can stay on the side to keep their lumber mill. You have a bunch of different areas to prioritize.
Yeah.
So like
Basically, Seo and Mage push very far, and then the opponent has to kick them out. And Kraken is the fastest by far to kick them out. And if you fail to kick them out, then they get a big econ advantage.
Okay.
yep.
And how does the game normally end on this map? I guess it's like kind of like plan. I mean, don't ruin your chances at the tournament or anything, but
Well, usually like because the econ is fairly high, you end up having like at least two golems per side, and the golems are very good at in the middle. You see, there's like a village and a wall tile and flagstone. So what happens is if you put a golem there, it's not dying, except if you have a frog. But I'm getting into more advanced stuff. But yeah, basically golem. I mean, basically this area is kind of easy to posture at. And if you walk slightly ahead of that area, you can threaten stronghold. So you can't like retreat completely when the opponent is doing that. So what usually happens is usually the player with like knights in the area and like maybe the one with more golems will go there and try to see if they can kill the stronghold. And if they can't, then the game continues. And sometimes big fight happens. Sometimes you have a groove that kills the stronghold, and sometimes like you fight through that area because you have frogs and dragons and you can do it.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah, in the
because of
rec,
those chokes,
yeah,
the map can stall if both players either kick or didn't kick out the enemy Seo. If one did and the other didn't, then there is a big econ advantage, and that translates usually into some golem conversion. But if there isn't, if it's pretty close, then those chokes are gonna probably be utilized by both players, and then the game could last a long.
Yep. But you have tools to deal with the choke too. Like rifles are open. I think you can only is it a map where you can only build one? I think you can only build one here. But
I think Skyro does the only
rifle
one
won't
rifle
die.
usually. Yeah.
Archers are pretty good on the map. Dragons can be pretty good like earlier and even in the later game because you know dealing a lot of damage to a golem is a good thing. Frogs are gonna be amazing at dealing with the choke. Like you can either pull the golem out of the choke or you can like send the dragon to hit the golem, pull the dragon out, get your own golem to finish.
Also,
There's a lot of
sometimes it's Yoda
stuff.
instead of Golem, and then Frog can make lethal.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. There's also some river in the middle which usually you can't cross, but merfolk and frogs like actually zoom on the river, so there's also that. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff you can do.
Overall, I'd
The
say
exchange depot is a core part of the map, and any unit that's low HP you can send there to convert into a frog. And then maybe if you want, like if the unit is at a nice amount of HP, like 40%, 20%, you can convert that back into a golem for cheap. So yeah, there's that.
yeah, I think that's the only map in the pool with a converter, right? Oh no, wait, there's Meadow, but Meadow,
We'll get to that one.
does it really have a converter?
I guess like something interesting I saw with a converter once in the game was someone made a harpoon ship with it just because it was the only anti-air option they could make at that point in time. And then they converted the harpoon ship into something else once the mages came out. But
I
there's
mean,
like a couple
Harpoons
of unique things
can't
like
really
that.
move forward because
I think it just needed to cover like that particular
Yeah.
part of the map.
Yeah, for one turn.
Yeah. But yeah, you get to see some interesting stuff on this map. I'm curious to see how it'll play. I mean, I haven't seen any of the Kraken stuff on this map yet. I mostly was watching it when people were still building Merfolk, so I'll be interested to see how it
Oh,
plays out.
you probably
yeah.
still build Merfolk.
If
like,
you
after build
play this
Kraken.
map, you gotta know how the tentacle ability works. So
Yeah.
the Kraken can, in a straight line of 3, not through villages, not through units,
Not through
can
mountains.
not through mountains, not through abyss, can grab any unit and lock it in place. Any unit includes commander. So yeah, your commander can't step on any tile where the Kraken can go and grab it. Unless you have like a very specific plan to deal with that. But I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, it's basically instant death most of the time. So, and that's why the Kraken is the best unit to deal with the commander push. Like, maybe it should be banned, just saying. But
I guess we'll see how the map plays out this time around.
So yeah, if be careful of Krakens and like don't
And also
don't
make sure to
just
build
go,
them.
oh, it will only be 30 damage, because no, it can grab you and next turn it hits you. That's a lot of damage.
It can grab you, and next turn it can re-grab you, by the way, for enemy. So you're permanently stunned if you can't kill it. So, it keeps grabbing you, and then there are night crits and dragons hitting you, and then you die.
Okay, well, I guess we can move on. Any final thoughts, or shall we go to the next map?
Nah,
uh
we can go.
Interestingly, like I feel like, I mean, we didn't talk like that much about like specific commanders, but some commanders are worse on this map, and yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Oh, that's the map you think Caesar is really bad on.
Well,
Okay,
I
let's
didn't
move
say
on.
any names.
It was obvious what you meant. Come on, let's
I
move
could see
on.
Caesar having trouble on maps with high econ because you're just not building that much infantry at that point. Sneaky,
I
any
mean,
final
it is-
thoughts, or
I think this is a really great map, but the certain parts of it need to be redesigned. Like just certain parts need to be tweaked a little.
Okay.
Just saying, this has been like the name of the game for this map for a long time. It used to be really good, except Treb was busted on it. And then it used to be really good, except Column Bars was busted on it. And, still, I think it's going to get there and eventually be a very good map. And even now, it's solid. Anyway, let's move.
Yeah, I mean, you can argue Kraken is a good or a bad thing for the map, really, because like it makes the early game like more straightforward, but like it offers more viability to some commanders. Like if you're having a low tier event, yeah, I can see like picking Sigrid on this map, for example. Because you're
Okay,
like,
we're not doing that though, so
Okay.
listen,
I'm
Let's-
just saying.
let's leave it at that.
Right. Right. Next
much
map,
time
we
left.
got Once Upon a Heist Masters Edition.
Not Masters Edition, but almost.
Okay.
Okay. I will say, like, I have gotten my barge killed like so many times on this version of the map. It's so annoying. I'm like, it's like I think I've gotten my barge killed by almost every commander that can deal damage. It's kind of crazy.
I mean, sometimes a harpy.
Yeah, I haven't gotten it killed by a harpy though.
I've seen low health dragon do it as well, but I mean I can talk about this map because I've played on this map a decent amount over the years. So this was originally a Wargroove 1 map. It featured in Take Your Turn when we ran that, and it has like a bunch of unique features. It has a bunch of hideouts. You have an enemy hideout near your side of the map. So in Wargroove 1, there was definitely like the threat of like your opponent builds a thief, and that was the meta for a while, is you just build a thief on your opponent's side of the map to slow them down. I think it's shifted away from that now. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong there.
Yeah, I mean now people are always careful about that. Like they're always leaving a sword that can hit all the sides of the hideout. So if you build a thief, it instantly gets bopped, and then next turn it can't steal because it'll get killed. So that's basically how we deal with it.
Yeah, if you're not careful, the opponent can still do it.
Yeah.
That's just the threat of it more than anything. It has features a barge for reinforcing. You can still slow march infantry across the river and the forest tiles, but that is a very slow march. Get anything across, so barge is a
But yeah.
very key value unit here. I've seen some people make balloons to try and get around that, and wagons as well, but
I mean, yeah, when your barge dies, you're like, oh, I guess I'm sending a balloon there.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. Though the balloon won't help you with like knights and columns. So
but
Strongholds are like they look fairly killable. Generally, it's because like you're spread out in other areas, so stronghold rush is a thing that can happen, and that has ended many games. But also, if you fail it, generally you fall behind. So it's
yeah, strong.
Or
gotta
your
be aware
opponent
of that.
can just, build 20 pikes and try to wait for the clock to run out.
Yeah, the map is a bit big, so if you're not confident with your timer, maybe it's not the best map.
It's a big map with slow reinforcements, so it makes it pretty interesting. Well, slow reinforcements if you don't consider the bards. Yeah, if it dies, then it's yeah.
I mean, still slow reinforcement on the other side.
Yeah, still slow. Yeah,
And
then
it's
there
not
are
like the
also a bunch
barge
of
is
thieves.
boosting that much, to be honest.
Yeah, that's. Well, I'm saying in comparison to what it would have been without, it would have been super slow.
the hideouts in the center as well are very interesting because pretty much all the economy on this map is on the sides. So I've seen a bunch of people rush hideouts and then have nothing to steal, then fall behind that way. So I think that there's like a lot of interesting things going on here, and obviously the strongholds are in the center as well. So like it's that balance of, do I push for economy, or do I like try and push for the stronghold, or do I like make sure I don't die as well, because like that is very, very easy to let happen if you are not careful.
Yeah. Also, CO doesn't have the easiest time healing sometimes in this map. Like, there is not a very clear time when you're like, okay, this is the clear heal path for CO. We just do that every.
Yeah, no, commanders will like spend a bunch. Like commander has to walk away from where it wants to be to heal,
Yeah.
which is pretty awkward, but it's a decision you have to make. Or you can heal slowly on like the same village that heals 10 per turn.
Is this even the right picture? I'm staring
Yep.
at this. And I'm like,
It is.
This is the newest version. People in ranked have been playing the old version because
what?
many people in ranked have been playing the
It
old
doesn't
version.
change much.
Wait, no. You can't just throw that. It doesn't
I
change
mean,
much at me. Hold on. I've
Well,
had
wait.
specific traumas with the it doesn't change much.
The correct version is listed in rank, but people have been playing the wrong version anyway. That's what
Ah,
I'm saying. It's not our fault.
also, only thing it changes is make the barge like weaker, because like now you spend 2 turns if you want to go pick up units on the river.
Yeah, so you can't ambush them with a knight. The knight needs to be like, or a golem needs to be there the
Yeah, so
turn
like if you
before.
want to send
So this-
units towards your stronghold, for example, you have to, well, your barge timings will be, a bit awkward. If you still have a barge, that is, because like people love sniping that thing.
Is it worth healing at any point? I
I
do see a
considered
village.
it. I considered it actually, but like I think like just dropping a mage heal on it, it's like something you might want to do against some commanders. You're like, oh, you're about to get groove. Well, let me drop a mage heal on my barge.
Oh,
Live
it
Sniper
can
in
pick
chat
up a knight
celebrating not having
from.
to update Fightbot. Sorry.
Zested says it can pick up a knight from the river. Yeah, it still can,
Yeah, you
but there
can
is
pick it
different
up,
terrain. You can no
but
longer go into like the shore
yeah,
in one
there's a
turn.
reef tile, so like you can't go beach to the river tile in 1 turn, basically.
Yeah. And then a mountain has also been added to prevent a very specific line with CO where you go for like very early efficiency, get a super early maids as like P2 I think only, and then join both lumber mills. No, just that you can't. Not in this version. Yeah, I'm saying just that isn't sad. But he's probably played the old map again. People have been making lobbies on the old version of the map a lot, even though we've updated for like quite a long time. We've updated.
I mean,
Like,
golems can still do the thing where like you build them when the barge is away, and then, well, no, you build them. Well, you can't build them like every turn, but once every 2 turns, you
oh
can
yeah,
build
yeah.
them on the back, and then they walk around to reach the beach tile.
You just can't ambush the opponent. That's the thing. You always need to do it on like the first turn. Let's say it needs to be the first out of the 2 units that will go into the barge. Anyway, in general, I'd say this map is very weird. It doesn't play like quite like any other map, and it's so interesting. So
Yeah,
many
so
people love
like
it, other people hate it. It's super hard to play in a tournament because you can never be like super sure that your opponent won't have like some weird prep on it, some way to really destroy.
yeah, that's what I don't like
yeah,
about it.
I think
Uh,
it's really like depending on your opponent, like what read do you have on your opponent? You pick the map or not, and oh, by the way, I love this map, right, guys?
I think the one
You
thing I
better
would say
ban it against me.
on that note is like just because of the way we set up the map bannings for this event, you're only going to see this map played between 2 people that really want to play on it.
yeah. So I don't think you'll see this map very often because I think it's always the safe choice to like not play on it. But yeah,
But sometimes you don't want to do the safe choice in a set.
yeah. Sometimes you think your opponent is
Sometimes
better than you, so
you
you
want to
need.
fry your opponent's brain at the beginning of the set.
That's also.
Because you're like,
But
I
yeah,
have more stamina than you.
I believe this map is
Heist.
extremely good. Just saying, I believe this map is genius in its design. I think it's extremely interesting. I have never been able to play on it, but yeah. So I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it. I I said before, people either love it or hate it. I'm both somehow. But yeah,
Great map to watch, not so much to play.
Yeah, I think
yeah,
that's a
that's
good way of putting it. I mean, I actually really enjoy playing it as well, but I obviously am not playing at quite the same level you guys are. So, right.
This map is a lot of fun when not played at a world tournament level. Like for anybody else, this is a great map. At a world tournament level,
Yeah, we're kind of screaming when we're like, oh, we're gonna play on that map. No.
I mean, maybe we should just, get good.
I know, right? I'm
it's
good at the map, right?
this
Right?
is a really fun map when you don't overthink it.
It's
If
really
you
fun
don't
when
have to
you overthink
overthink it, it's a fun map.
No, but it's fun when you overthink it too, but it's super hard to do. It doesn't become unfun, it becomes just super hard. But
We enjoy different things.
Anyways, I think maybe we go to the next map. We kind
Okay.
of get the point.
Yeah.
and
I'm looking forward to seeing the like 3 games in the tournament that are played on this map. But
I mean, some people like it. I think we'll see more than 3.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
get
tested Ballista on it the other day. That was a fun one.
okay. Well, I'll look forward to seeing some ballista action as well. Then, but anyway, let's get on to the next one. So the next map on the list is Open Season,
The classic.
another
Ooh.
classic.
Now
Oh.
with no FTA or STA. Wow, it's the first time in a tournament it doesn't have any.
Right. Yeah, this map can exist without one of those. I totally believe that.
And I mean, this map has been in so many tournaments while it was like very broken, and people still liked it. And now it's not broken anymore, and it's not just about the FTST. You will notice some cut forest styles; those weren't there in Wargroove One, and those make the map better. So a map that's been in many tournaments and that people liked, and it was a pretty good map back in Wargroove One, is now way better in every way. So I think it's now just a top tier map.
I mean, I
Also,
like maps like this until Saykoya gets their hands on them.
What?
also another problem with this map back in Wargroove One is that CO is you're forced to let your opponent CO get a bunch of free kills on villages, and that gave so much groove in Wargroove One because groove was completely centered on CO. Now it's still a groove boost that they kill a lot of things with CO, but it doesn't like completely define the map, and it doesn't speed up charge times by quite as much as it did. Like back in Wargroove 1, medium charge grooves would be immediately online out of the opening, and slow charge grooves would be almost online. Now that's not the case. So basically, everything I disliked about the map in Wargroove 1 is gone. So I really, really like this map. I
I liked it better in Wargroove 1, actually. I liked the supercharged commander boost. I enjoyed that. I liked the very aggressive game states. And then it slowly became Saykoya Ballista, and I'm just like, ah.
Oh, come on. I was kind of trolling when I tried Ballista, you know?
Yeah, and then you proceeded to troll every subsequent game.
What?
I mean, I still think the map can be quite fast and quite aggressive. It's just not a base race anymore. I mean, it wasn't exactly a base race before because you could defend your HQ, but it was almost a base race. And it was
Never
heavy
quite a base race, and I think that was perfect. Like, right at the edge of being a base race, but not. That, for me, is the ideal level of aggression. But it's more defensible now than it used to be, and I like that less.
I mean, it's also less night spammy though. It was heavy night spam base race, and that's like the most boring base race in my opinion.
Mm.
I mean, now the rifle starts at full HP, but also it's Wargroove 2 rifle, so it's not
It's
like
worse.
exactly the same.
I mean,
That's the one change I like. Wargroove 2 has a better rifle.
yeah, a more balanced rifle. For
Mhm.
anybody that doesn't know, it's worse objectively in like power level, but it's better in that we prefer units to be more balanced.
Yeah, you can't do like saving up the crit shenanigans anymore.
Yeah.
Those were hilarious. I mean, I will say, like, I'm fine with that being in its own era where, like, you don't have to deal with that anymore, but I did mercy heal my rifle once and then counter crit the enemy rifle with it. And killed it with one hit, and like that felt amazing, but I'm also cool with that just being a Wargroove 1 thing and we don't have to deal with that anymore.
Also, speaking on the map not being night spam anymore, I really like harpies on this map. I'm not sure if that's like I need to prep more to see if harpies are actually that good.
Harpies are pretty good.
Yeah, harpies in general are way better in Wargroove too. But yeah, this map just feels so much more open, not in the terrain sort of way, but in like how many things you could do. Like in Wargroove 1, I felt like you do basically one thing and then
No,
later
no,
on
no,
you
no,
can
no,
do
no.
more things.
Hard disagree. You
Oh,
could do way more things in Wargroove 1. That's why I
Yeah.
like Wargroove 1.
I mean, I
I
think
super
you
disagree.
have more unit variety in Wargroove 2, but like how you play the map is a little less varied, I'd
Yep.
say.
Uh,
Just because you don't HQ rush that much early. I mean, you can still do it.
yeah, you
You
can
just
still
have to
HQ
deal
Ras.
with Cut Forest, you know?
It's just harder to HQ Ras, which means you can do more things. In Wargroove 1, you always at least threaten the HQ Ras. If you don't threaten it and the other guy does, I think they just make more money than you. So it was basically threaten the HQ Ras. If they defend, transition into something else. But the map always started with you have to threaten the HQ Ras. So like in that sense, I think now you don't have to threaten the HQ Ras. You can just look at something completely different.
Speaking of HQ rushes, I do want to say I don't miss twins from Wargroove 1 on this map. Even if people figured out how to defend that, it was like so boring to watch 99% of those games where it's just like,
Oh, those were the best games.
I disagree. Twins are a super interesting lethal here.
oh, but like
Because you
Wargroove
need to set
1?
it up through a bunch of turns.
The
Yeah,
Wargroove 1
Wargroove 1.
twins.
Yeah, but
Like,
it was just
it
like,
wasn't even the best. Like, the boring lethals were no response an extra night, now you're dead. Oops.
it was just people waiting for fire and just like watching paint dry, and I'm just like,
Wait,
if you
what do
didn't
you
have,
mean Nuru rifle?
Nuru night.
Oh,
Nuru night. No response an extra night, and you die.
I guess we can agree to disagree on that one, but just like, I watched a lot of those twins games and had to commentate a lot of them, and it's like, cool, I gotta think of something interesting to say for like the 17th twins fire on open season in a row, so
I mean, if fire just develops without any issues, that means that Twins did a very good strategic play, right? They also need to defend because the opponent could like kill their HQ before fire grows enough and stuff. It's like it should be interesting, and if it looks super boring, it's because the Twins player has outplayed their opponent and stunned them, and now they're gonna win with fire. Like I don't find it boring. It's a trap that leads to a checkmate. Like it might seem like nothing's happening.
I think it's
yeah,
just like how
it's definitely
consistent
one
it
of these
was.
more interesting to play than to watch things.
I
Hey,
will agree with
my
that.
twins versus shoe game was hype.
Yeah, that
I'm
was
just gonna
really
say.
fun.
Like
That
there
said,
were occasionally good games, but like a lot of the time, because I'm also watching all of the games that are like, just like people who aren't in like championship level, right? People who aren't gonna win like Groove of War or whatever. Like when you're watching people who are not practiced on the map, but just are like, oh, I just go herder, throw fire, and two knights behind it, and then the opponent just didn't know how to deal with that, or like let their opponent get too much groove and the fire came out really quickly. Like those, like
Yeah,
there were a
they're
lot of those games.
they're doing it as a cheese.
Yeah, like
The
I
groove
think
isn't really a choice, I think. I think medium charge, yeah, twins were medium charge. Medium charge was guaranteed, I think.
it
with
was, but
actually-
there were ways of slowing it down a little bit. But
Yeah, you kind of give up love econ if you do that, though.
yeah,
Yeah, and then
Anyway,
they get groove a bit later with more money, which is worse.
but I guess I'm more excited to see it now. I'm interested to see how this is gonna play out in this tournament.
Yeah, I disagree with you that the twins was like horrible and boring, but I think the map is better now. I just think it's way, way better.
I think
Yeah,
also
like
our
the-
context of why it's boring. I watched just like lots and lots of like kind of mid tier players play
That's
it.
fair.
And
That's fair. I usually watch the best games.
yeah, so like at a higher level, if people could figure out how to defend it, like obviously interesting and like cool gameplay going on. But it's just like those, from my perspective, were like the rarity. So
Yeah, that's fair.
From our perspective, though, it was a really intense thing because the twins players would throw down fire, and then the defending player would have 2 turns to launch a counterattack because that's how you stopped it. You had to attack the twins' position from the side with your entire army without being forced into a bad position. So it was like, all right, we're dueling to the death. One of us is not going to make it out of here, and anything that stands on this is dead. So, like, at the top level, it was really hype.
Or you kill their HQ first.
Yeah, but that's the threat. But
Yeah.
like, that's not where it stopped in a top level game.
No, I'm saying like
I am making a
instead of-
checkmate threat, but
Yeah,
now
yeah.
we have to play the game
Oh, no, I'm
before the
saying
game.
the non-twins player could kill your HQ first. Like you don't have to attack the twins position. You have to either attack the twins position or rush them faster than they rush. Yeah.
That's not usually possible, though. Generally, what you do is you attack the twins' position because they have no groove. They're just a commander. You have your groove, and they can't stand on the fire either right now. So you attack from the side. That was the counterplay.
Yeah, but they're closer to reinforcement, so that's also hard. I'm just saying, like, if you're a
Anyway,
nude or a green finger, which are all other good picks on this map, I think the way you do it sometimes is that you try to rush them faster than rush. Anyway, let's go.
yeah,
Next
we're
map.
talking Wargroove 1. So let's. Any final thoughts on this map before we move on?
It's worse.
it's kind of
It's
fun
better.
the new rifle is fun, and the map is better.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll see how this plays out in the tournament.
This is
This
a
is
two
al-
against one sneaky. You can't win.
I do think this is also a map we're gonna see people play on. Is another thing. Like I could see not so many games on like Once Upon a Heist, for example, but I think we're gonna see a bunch of people pick open season, especially in the first
Yeah,
round.
I agree. I think the most popular maps will be like Headland, Open Season, and Heartseeker in that order.
Okay.
Dude,
We'll see, Heartseeker.
Well,
no one is
speaking
going to
of
pick this stuff against you and Saykoya.
all right, speaking of Heartseeker, that is actually the next map on the list. So bring that up on screen real quick.
Time Key is just in chatting about all the Nuru knowledge checks.
Okay, for some reason Heartseeker didn't get added to this folder.
Fair.
So I'm just gonna download it real quick. Hang on.
Heartseeker is the one map that I think is actually broken.
Really?
What?
Yes, I think it's actually broken.
Oh, I can just bring it up on screen like
What?
this. Oh. Okay.
Why? Do you think it's like TA?
No comment.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we're doing that again.
I mean,
So I guess we'll actually have things to say about the map.
Yo, don't put that on me. You guys have done all this super secret stuff. I gotta keep the little bit of knowledge I have.
I mean, I think you're
Okay.
wrong, but maybe you'll surprise me when we play. If we play, I guess. Heartseeker, I love the map. It was made by Skyro. Skyro has been grinding the game in boss, like playing ranked and actually making maps recently, and he's gotten super good at both. I think right now Skyro is the best mapper, and this is the best mapper's best map. I mean, I don't think it's the best map because back in the day we're mostly using old maps, and back in the day there were super good mappers, but they don't really map much right now. Out of the active mappers, I mean, the currently active mappers, Skyrim is the best, and yeah, this map is very dynamic, very interesting. It it plays very well because it has very wide fronts. Uh, yeah, you can. It feels like you can do so much on the map. Um, you can fight over so many villages. It's like by the book in a similar way to Headland. Boss maps are, very wide diagonal fronts, and that's usually what gives a map potential to be great.
Yeah.
And
Looks
that's
like
why I super like.
yeah. Like the map kind of has sections like separated by terrain. Well, it's not like hard separation because you can still like balloon or walk over the terrain, but it's still like there's that like river, forest, mountain combo near the sides that like creates distance between the corners and the middle.
Yeah, there are pivots. You can just walk through
Yeah.
everything that would kind of make
And
it
there's
too open, too
also
boring.
like quite a bit of distance between production and, you know, everything, really.
Especially the strongholds.
Yeah. So it is like so the thing is like usually when you go after an area you kind of just send one knight. But now it's like usually you gotta commit more to that, and it creates interesting situations where it's not about just going there, it's also about how much do I need to send there to take over the area, and like how fast do I want to take it over too. So it's interesting.
And I think back to your
I will
discussion
say,
about like the pivots, I think it's also super important to control the pivots. Like because the person who controls the pivots can effectively have like the same number of units uh, applied to both areas, whereas the person who doesn't have control of the pivot will need to, either invest in one area, invest in the other area, or have like double the units to invest in both areas. And all of those are bad. So there's also this option. Instead of just straight up controlling villages, there are places in the map where you want to be, not because of their money necessarily. Indirectly they give you money if you can control them, but like because of certain strategical advantages caused by the geography. And that's interesting.
yeah, like more standard maps, the dance is kind of more like a waltz. This one, it's more tango because you have to be more forceful in the dance, I guess.
I do also just want to like take a quick note of this is something that is very that's taken a lot of advantage of like something that's very unique to Wargroove 2 is that you have beach bridges, and they feature quite prominently on this map. So it's actually kind of cool to kind of like very subtle. I mean, it's got a lot of chopped forest on it too. Actually, thinking about it, and I think it's like cool to see a map that is taking advantage of like the new terrain options presented in Wargroove 2.
Yeah, and you can see every chopped forest tile. You're like, oh, this is a good night tile. If only there was not a chopped forest onto it. That happens a lot. It's like Scarab's like, this
Also, a
tile is too
different
good for
version.
night. Let's delay it.
Wait, hold on. I'm staring at this. Is this also a different version than what people have been playing in ranked?
Some people download the
Is
map
it
and then they don't look for
133?
updates.
I've probably been playing ranked games on the wrong versions of these maps. I don't know. I
Yeah,
still think the
make
map's
sure to
broken though.
check. I mean, maybe you're right, and you'll kill some people. Okay, now we gotta watch Sneaky's round one matches really careful. See if she revealed there's something
Yeah,
broken in the
please
game.
don't make games with the wrong versions of the map in tournament.
Oh, that's true. You need to be very careful about that.
I'll actually
Like,
put a ping out today about that and just be like, hey, make sure you're playing on the right maps.
technically, it's a game loss if you play the game on the wrong map, right? To make.
If it's both players, then I
Oh,
think the
yeah.
general rule that we've had in the past is if both people get it wrong, then and nobody notices, then like that's the players just played it out right. And if like a map had TA or something and someone lost on it, then that's on them for not recognizing. But I will put it a ping actually on Discord before the
I
we're about
guess
to run to
it
round
can
one.
never be a game glitch because if the other person doesn't notice, then that's also on them. And then if they do notice, then obviously you remake. But like technically, playing on the wrong map is like a rules violation.
Yeah,
It just can't really you can't really punish one person for it because
yeah, and
that's how
like
it works.
we've had times in the past where the map has been set up on the wrong version. It's why we have number versions now, because it's very specific. Like you're playing on like 1.3.3 in Heartseekers. Well, I think it's. Let me go double check that.
1.33, yeah, 1.3.
Yes, 1.33. So
Speaking of, and that's why Goose really shouldn't have made this super annoying name for Heist. Heist is the one people have been mostly getting wrong because there
Oh
is
yeah.
no number.
yeah, like we might in the future
What are
just
the
say,
versions called?
yeah, that
Like,
might actually be a thing in the future. We might just like enforce you have a version number. I actually really wish version numbers had just been a thing in the game. I think that would have helped a lot, but
yeah.
like a thing that you put in like the description of the map or something. So
Heist went from Master Edition to Master Edition Plus to Master Edition Plus Plus to now Masters Edition. Something like that.
yeah, and like
Yes.
we've had maps where it was like final edition, and then that we got updated after final edition. So like
No.
I think that was actually the one that happened on stream. Was like they were playing on a version called final edition, but there had been an update since then. It's just like okay. It's also why
Yeah,
whenever someone says, "Oh, I made like one tile change wrong," like, do I need to change like the name of the map? And I'm like, yes, you have to change the version number. Like, if you make any change to the map.
Anyway, back to Heartseeker. Sneaky, you said it was broken. Okay, obviously I won't ask you to give up your prep, but you haven't said anything else about the map. I mean, what's your take on it other than it being potentially broken?
it's not my prep. No, I'm not gonna. I shouldn't talk about this.
Yeah, not about the
Um,
prep, just about the map. What do you think about it? Do you like it? Do you agree with me that it's like super good?
I can't say anything about this map. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh wow.
I will say it plays like not like your typical Wargroove map, but it's still like good and fun. I will say sometimes the stronghold is pretty far back when you want to kill it. So yeah, you should probably like allow yourself a little more timer if you want to secure a stronghold win. But
Yeah, it's got a
yeah,
the
that's about
strongholds
it.
of all the maps. Like this is like one of the ones where they're the furthest apart, but they also have very slow reinforce, so
Yep.
they're susceptible in that way.
Yeah, I mean the way the map is played has changed a bit over the versions, and people are still discovering new stuff on it. So like sometimes it was easier to attack HQ, so it's in a pretty conservative position for that reason, I think.
Yeah. Oh, also there's stuff like you want to leave some units to defend your villages, but the thing is like you also have to be careful because sometimes your opponent will like attack the corner with a big force, not just for the villages, but also to like pick up the units you left there. So if they get trapped, then you not only lose the corner, but also the units there, and that can be bad. So
That
there's
said, it
also
also
that
means that they need
consideration.
to commit some units to just kind of picking up the stragglers for a few turns, and
Yep.
then for those turns they actually have less unit count. So you could capitalize. Interesting map, good map. Sneaky's not gonna say anything about it though, so I think we could.
Yeah, we can move on to the next one. Roll back up to
Oh, last thing. A rifle can be built next to HQ, so that can also defend HQ pretty well. Because if it snipes your mates, for example,
Yep. Only white
then
rifle though.
yeah, limited to one, but still, one rifle right as they're trying to attack your HQ, can
Oh,
be
is there a
pretty
build limit
solid.
on it?
Yep.
Okay. Is
I
that
think.
a total build limit, or is it you can only have one at a time?
It's still build limit.
Okay.
You know, I just had an interesting idea. Not for this tournament, obviously, but
Gyro thing.
should we put build limits on golems?
No.
Well, like have it like 5 or 10 or something like
Yeah,
that.
I mean-
yeah, like 3 golems, 2 golems, like,
3, 2.
yeah. I think it would be really interesting because then you can't lose your golem. You have to keep it alive.
We already have a unit that works like that. It's called the Commander Snake.
I know, but like it would make end games a little bit exciting because then you have these mini boss units that are really, really cool to take down because your opponent can't just replace it.
I mean,
It kind of already works like that. I
yeah,
feel.
because they're very expensive. Instead, you'd have more like pike heavy.
They're also like
games.
slow
could-
to replace.
I could see that working on some maps though. Not like these
Yeah,
ones
I mean,
or whatever, but I
yeah,
think like
it's
if
an
someone built
idea
a map
for
around it. But anyways,
next season, I guess.
yeah, we'll
It would also make playing with super low timer very annoying because one of the main ways to play with super low timer is the golem spam.
Sure.
If you have an advantage and you want to convert quickly.
But anyway, let's go to this last map. Oh, I just realized I got the wrong version number on this image. I don't know if it makes too big a difference. I've got 1.6. The page says 1.7. So I'm gonna. Here's the
think it's
1.6. I
yeah.
think it's like close enough anyway. This is Meadow. I will actually make it a bit bigger on stream.
It is a big map.
So the main gimmick on Meadow is that your CO starts in jail using the new teleporter feature. So you need some units to cap the teleporter on the other side so that CO can escape jail. And that's like the idea behind that is that CO is a very strong unit, so delaying CO should make the map like more balanced and less centralized than CO, which in general is a good idea. I disagree with it on the grounds that it's really easy to invite TA, but I don't think this map specifically has TA. That said, I haven't prepped it that much yet, so maybe it does, and I'm just very wrong. But as long as there is no TA, the idea is good. I'm just saying there is a danger of TA, so I don't like the idea in general. And other than that, map looks pretty fine. But again, I don't have much.
Yeah, I feel like
experience on
this
it,
is the
so
map we have played the least amount on, I guess.
yeah. And for that reason, and because it has the weird jail thing, I think people won't pick it that much. Saykoya, do you have like experience on it?
I have a bit of experience on it. Let's see. I mean, reinforcements paths are actually slower than they look at a glance. Dragon is very strong on the map. Let's see. Like the strongholds, there's this like wide open field in the middle, where like there's not much villages and the terrain is very open, and that's also where the strongholds are. They are kind of far back, so it's not super easy to kill it, but basically the middle will mostly be open, and it's pretty easy to cross as a result. It's still pretty big, so it's
Yeah. So the
there's
HQs
like an
feel
interesting question.
deceptively yeah, they feel safe, but it's deceptive, like because it's easy to attack them because it's easy to move through the middle, and it's not so easy to defend them because the reinforcements are super slow.
Oh, you also have a choice because there's a port and a converter on the map, which means you can like use it as a third barracks that's slower.
Yeah, but I think
But
like
also
y-
the converter only has like one side to it. Oh, actually, never mind. No, I was looking at it wrong. So it has yes, it has two sides. But yeah, basically, most of the villages are on the side, so that's where you'll be fighting the most. But because of how commanders get out onto the map, they tend to come out like more towards the middle, so you can have some shenanigans happen.
you also have a choice with like when you develop your commander and where you develop your commander, because
Yeah, and
usually
do you provide a transport for your commander too?
and which transport, wagon or balloon, and then which side do you transport them
Or
to? So,
barge?
bards, not really, right?
Yeah, it's not a converter that's connected to the water, so
Yeah, so bards would need to be
it's there
there.
like either for your low HP units to become frogs, or like you can make merfolk and then go turn them into knights or something.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's the idea of the super slow third barracks, but I don't think it ever works. Like by the time it's late game enough that you're okay with losing value right now in order to have an extra unit later. Uh, you probably want a golem spam instead, or
I
there
guess
might be.
the one thing it could do would be like treb. Like if you really want to get like a further forward
Yeah.
treb.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of heavy terrain. Like that's why I was saying like reinforcement paths are slower than they look, because that there's a lot of heavy terrain on the way.
Yeah,
So
but
Treb is
actually
probably gonna be slow.
the treb out of the converter is actually not that slow looking at it.
It's pretty slow. Like
It
you
is,
have
it is
Yeah,
to.
pretty
Treb
slow,
is
but
only 2 on
but
planes,
you
so
sure, but it connects to a bridge straight away.
oh
So one
Before
turn to get
getting
to
to
the
the
bridge.
point where it could hit enemy territory, it'll have to move for 1, 2, 3 turns, four turns,
Yeah,
and
the
then
map
you
is
have it
also
in this
big.
awkward position.
Yeah, the map is also super big. So
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
But I
I
mean
mean,
it's
I
one
can see
turn reinforced.
making use of Treb.
Yeah, but it's one turn reinforced into your own stronghold. So I'm curious if someone's gonna do something like that.
I
Especially if it's
mean
like a lower health unit and you convert it into a treb and then you
I
kind of mage
mean,
heal up over time.
stronghold attacks are
Treb
kind of
to
fast
defend
though.
stronghold is like interesting because like to defend stronghold you usually want to have units in front, not behind.
Yeah. It only defends from like 2 turn lethals, basically. It doesn't defend from like attacks that immediately kill the
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I could see situations where it might be an option.
And
but
also, just saying, it looks like it's a 1 turn reinforce, but if you want to build a trap, you need to like pre-plan the whole thing, right?
yeah, like you would need
Yeah,
to like send a merfolk through the teleporter and have the
you
merfolk go
either
up and
like teleport a merfolk or like you have a
Double
sword
convert.
turn into a
Yeah.
merfolk and then turn into a
yeah.
Treb.
I mean, I
And
guess like if you had a merfolk and you're like, this is a useless unit now, you might be like, I'm just gonna throw it back to the converter. But
yeah, just saying, like,
Yeah.
because you need to plan those things like longer ago than they would have started the attack, you can never actually defend with a trap, I think.
yeah, and I
Like, it
guess like
could be
in a lot of those
incidental.
situations, you just throw in a golem instead.
Yeah, that's also true. But I'm like, yeah, if they're attacking your HQ now, you don't have time to make a trap unless you already randomly had a merfolk there. How did you have a merfolk there? And if you already had a merfolk there to make a trap, I mean, your plan probably wasn't to defend your HQ because, you
Yeah.
didn't know they were gonna attack it.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't think trap is gonna be a thing. Anyway, any other thoughts? Saykoya bottom up?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say like the sides are kind of like building up a ball that can push and then knowing when to stop, I guess. It's basic Wargroove fundamentals, I guess. This is a
Sneaky?
map like you uh you probably need to like do a little bit of prep, but not too much.
Sneaky, I know you haven't played the map that much. Or at least that was true the last time
Do you
you
have
said something
something you
about.
can't comment on this map? Is the
Uh,
question.
I don't have anything I can't comment on. No, this is an interesting map. I know a lot of people were bummed about the teleporters, but I kind of like it.
Yes, have the commanders put into jail.
It definitely makes the map very different, which I guess is like
Yep.
kind of the
Early game dynamics aren't the same.
Yeah, there are like two very important things about like making a map pool for an event. And I wasn't the one in charge, by the way, just to be clear. Like other people were in charge of picking maps. I just yelled at them to do it quicker. But it comes down to you want to have good maps that are like good to play on, which is like the most important thing. But also you want maps that have variety as well. Like you don't want maps to just kind of play the same. Like I mean I was looking at the map pool and like one thing I noticed that is like fairly common among a lot of maps, and I don't think it's like the biggest of deals, but a lot of maps have like water centers, so whether it's a koi pond or a beach tile or something, that seems to be like a very common trend among a lot of maps. And I don't think it's too big an issue, but I think if every map had that feature, it would just be like, okay, like these maps, there's like a kind of almost sameness about them from like just like a pure,
Yeah,
like
but it
basic
kind of
level. But
works. Water centers kind of work because
yeah,
center is like good to occupy, and it's a natural pivot in between the two fronts usually. But then
Center
if
is
you can,
OP, so you
yeah.
gotta
but
nerf it.
I
So if
think
it was easy to occupy, then people would occupy too much. Occupy it too much. It would be over centralized.
yeah.
Uh,
But I think there's like enough diversity in this map pool where there's like some maps have mountains, some have maps have walls. Like there's definitely, but like that's just like one of those things, right? Like you don't want every map to kind of feel like the same or have like too many of like the same common elements in every single map. So
yeah, we definitely don't have 2 or 3 headland clones in this pool.
I wouldn't call them headland
Wow.
clones. Lol. I mean, every map that's like well designed is a headland clone, haha. Because headland has like wide diagonal, well designed fronts. So now anything that has wide diagonal, well designed by the book front.
I can't believe you said this, Sneaky.
I mean, someone had to throw that out there. I felt like being spicy.
Anyway, any last comments about this? Also, any last comments about the pool as a whole? I
uh,
liked the pool.
I'll make
Biased.
one last comment about Meadow. Is I did have to tell the person who made it, and I think that's actually one of the biggest differences between 1.6 and 1.7 is there's a lot less decoration on it than originally there
Oh
was.
no, you nerfed Mr. Cat.
I did have to say to Mr. Cat, like, there's just a little bit too much going on visually on this map. Please, like, tone it down a bit. Which I think was fair, and he did do it. He did say like, okay, fair enough, and then toned it down a bunch. So, I think 1.7 is a little bit more clear visually as to what's going on. There's like a lot of rubble on that flagstone in this picture. I think that got reduced a little bit.
Yeah,
The map pool as a whole, I don't like it. Not because it's bad, but just because I personally don't like it. Like many of these maps, I don't know if I'm just getting like jaded in general because we've reached the stage of Wargroove where prep is super necessary, but I feel like a lot of these maps I can't just do something that look fun. You gotta open this way for the first 5 turns and build these exact units and put them on these tiles, and I'm just like, I want chaos.
You
I
see,
mean,
Sneaky, the problem is that you don't prep enough. Because if you can prep some fun stuff,
yeah,
I'm just gonna say.
I agree. Like the way to do fun stuff is to have you prep the fun stuff. You can do that. It's not impossible, but also I think like this isn't about the maps. It's about the game. Yeah, like after a certain level of play, and I believe players in general have been getting better. Um, there have been some setbacks, and we've lost some of our best players. So like the top uh, got worse at some point. But in general, I think level tends to rise with more time because a lot of us are like the same people. Uh, and like when the level of play goes to some certain level and above, you can't just do fun stuff and be okay when the other guy is doing the optimized thing. And there will always be some optimized thing. Like, as long as there are one or more things, one will be better than the others. Or they will be tied, but like any other random thing will be worse.
Okay. Well,
I think that's just the nature of turn-based games. Is there will be a point where like the first 5 or 6 moves is just completely solved, and that is just kind of the reality because
not necessarily solved, but like prep territory.
Yeah.
I don't think Sneaky's problem is that it's solved because actually because we have a super small community, most of the maps are just not solved. We don't know the solution to many maps. You can prep really hard.
But I mean like the first 4 or 5 turns of open season are basically going to play at the same time, same way every time, right?
No, most people are doing it, in my opinion, wrong. I think I've solved it, but people are still not doing it.
There's like decisions you can make early open season actually, but this might be my time to no comments.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've seen Saykoya sometimes. There are even, I believe I found the correct line, but the other lines have some things they do slightly better. I think those things are worse than what my line does better, but there are choices. And open season is one of the more solved maps because we've had that around for so long. Any one of the newer maps or the more changed maps is a lot less solved. Even like Headland had a huge flowchart I made. Well, made it was just in my head. I didn't like actually write it down or anything. But there was a huge flowchart. The problem is a big part of that flowchart had to do with like a groove chart, but the groove chart is completely different now. So it all went to the trash can. So Headland is now like quite different. Opening wise, it's not solved anymore. And even when it
Uh,
was solved, most people still didn't know the opening.
And this is why I'm getting washed, because it's like to get to a game state where I can play my kind of game, I need to put in the kind of prep that these two are talking about, and I just don't enjoy it. That's what it
mean,
comes down to. I just don't enjoy it as much.
I kind of just play the game to prep, to be honest.
Yeah, you can do that. If you play a lot, you will pick
You
up.
you played how many games this season?
Are you counting? I'm not counting.
Sequoia has been playing a lot. That's pretty
uh,
good.
I will say the map pool in general, I like it a lot because there's a lot of commander variety uh, because of the map pool. Like, aside from Pistol and Vesper, which, are kind of generalists, I kill everything grooves, I guess, which work everywhere. uh, well, commanders like vary quite a bit between in power between every map, and I
Is
think
that a
that's cool.
transition?
I think that's cool.
That sounded like a transition to me, especially because I think we have 15 minutes
Yeah.
left.
Well, we can go a little bit longer, but like,
we'll
I
have
do
to
want
go a lot longer actually.
We won't go too much longer. We might do the commander tier list next week, but actually that would work because we got 2 weeks for the first round, so maybe we do the commander tier list next week.
Oh,
but-
that's fair. I was thinking once per round, but if we do one more for round one, then we can do commanders.
Yeah, so we can quickly go over rule set and matchups then, and then we'll do the tier
Right.
list next week because we'll actually have a bit of like tournament data at that point as well, so we could
We'll go. I told you so.
or
I
maybe we
mean,
do
there's
like a
like
very
half of
very
one
quick tier
round.
list just now, and then like we'll actually do like an
Oh,
in-depth discussion about it
we
next week.
could just show tier lists that we've already made. Like Koya has a tier list, and I have my old one, which is not completely up to
Okay, so
date.
we'll do very very quick bit on the tier list,
We'll
and we'll
just
do like a
quickly show
proper.
those.
Yeah, we'll talk about it more in the next
Let
one.
me get my link.
Anyways,
Okay, right. Let's
rule set.
rule set. So I guess like the one quick thing to transition from map pool to rule set is how do you feel about the 7 maps?
I like more maps because I feel like 6, you would run into situations where like you don't feel like you have a choice because you're being forced into one map. But if you have one more map, then like going from one map to 2 maps to pick from is very different, I feel. It's like a lot harder to force the kind of game you want just from the drafting maps, I guess.
Yeah, I think my comment is something I've already said before. If we had known from the beginning that the process was TYM into quals into tournament, then I would really like the current map setup. But I think because that wasn't known ahead of time, anyone who was really clear on that was like, okay, I can play lots of games on these particular maps. And anyone who was less clear might not have done that and now has to catch up with 7 maps. So I think it's a knowledge game. As long as everyone has the knowledge ahead of time, this is a good number of maps, this is a good way of choosing the maps. But everyone needs to know at the same time and ahead of time.
Okay.
Honestly, personally, I would like more maps.
More?
More, yeah. I would like 8 to 10 maps.
It would be an odd number every time, by the way, so that would be 9.
Okay, 9. 9 feels cool.
It's too much.
Yeah, I feel like that's getting into too much.
Why does it have to be an odd number?
I mean, we'll see.
Just
Maybe
because
I'll
of the
have.
way the ban system works in the first one, you need an odd number because both players have to veto the same amount.
Oh. I mean, oh yeah, I see. That's
Yeah. Explain that. Yay.
Okay, I mean, and we can talk about that. So, like, you know, we're using the flip system as we would normally do. Some tournaments I've noticed will do something where they prioritize the higher seed, which would just get the flip. But I think it's like part of the tradition of like the community at this point to do a coin flip now. So
Yeah, we gotta, like, RNG is like part of Wargroove's history, right?
Yeah.
But
As much as we want to bury it.
I think like that's the enough RNG. I think it gives like a little bit of spice, right? But like anyway, first map in the set, player B. The coin toss winner is player A, of course. Player B vetoes a map, player A vetoes 2, player B vetoes 2, and then player A chooses. So, you know, if you're the coin toss winner, you do get to decide between the remaining 2 maps that from the veto. And then, if we go to like the ban system, then player B gets to pick which side they're on. So that's like kind of we try to even things out as much as we can because there will always be some small amount of turn advantage on a map,
Yeah.
but there will always be some small advantage of being the person who picks from the remaining 2 maps. So we try to balance that out as much as we can.
yeah. Those are
We
the two
also
sides.
just make sure that, the one who picks the map doesn't get to choose which side they're on.
Yeah.
That's kind of a fail-safe of like, oh, if T8 gets discovered like mid-event, then you can't you can't choose to abuse it.
Yeah, you can't force the TA. You need at least an unsuspecting victim, somebody to pick them up for you, and then you can use the TA. But if you find TA on like 3 or 4 maps and it's all your hidden prep, then that's pretty good.
There's like an old thing of I don't know if any of you ever did this one. Like you had to divide food between 2 people, like the I cut you choose thing.
Yeah, that's it.
Basically how it works here. And I think we did like a pretty good job. There's also like the other side of like let's say like being the person to pick from the remaining 2 maps is like not as big an advantage as like deciding which sides. Like the person who then picks second gets to choose their commander second. So there's like a tiny smidge of an advantage from that because you can technically counterpick someone commander wise in very specific circumstances. Like it's not the biggest
usually
deal.
counterpicks aren't a thing in Wargroove. Like
I mean, there is like one matchup that's like kind of it's not a hard counter, but it's the most
some, but
count.
like you just said one. I'm just saying in general they're not a thing. There are exceptions.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing as well that gets more explored over time as well. And I do think there might be some changes to commanders going forward that like might make that more of a thing. Like I know the devs have talked about Lytra being able to groove things in Vesper Smoke, for example.
She still wouldn't counter Vesper. She
No.
would be like, she would have a playable matchup. Right now, Vesper completely destroys Lytra and is the better CO in general. It's just unfair.
Yeah.
I think we should.
Yeah, that's tier list talk, though.
Yeah, that's there's a whole mountain of stuff we can go into there.
Yeah.
And I guess the other thing to talk about as far as map picking, just to go over quickly, is you get 2 map vetoes on the counter pick. So the player that loses gets to then choose of the map, and which I guess I should probably clarify that a little bit better here. It just says player B right now, but the way it works is like the person who loses like the game 1 will then choose the map for game 2. But
Wait, usually
Wait,
you have
what?
like
wait, hang on.
That's not
usually
what it
the
says.
player who loses chooses between player A and B.
Let me check.
I think the line is just not here.
The line
No,
isn't there actually.
Yeah, but that's usually how it goes. The
It's
person who
0.5.
loses-
It's bullet 0.5. The loser of the match then decides between being player A or player B.
bullet what?
It before a match number 5.
Oh right.
Oh yeah. It's in the end. That's why
In the
we're
end,
looking on the top. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the loser chooses. Sorry. I guess like I'm used to just defaulting to the idea that I would just choose the map first rather than decide, but
Which is weird because I would almost always choose the side.
Huh.
Because I usually have prep. Yeah, so I was like, I looked at it and I'm like, wait, did they get like countered by the rules this time?
no. I just was reading
Yeah,
from
yeah.
the wrong section. Okay, so yeah, you decide between player A and player B if you lose, and then you repeat from step 2. And there's like a specific thing which says like from the second match is onwards. You can't select the map you've already played on, which forces some level of like knowing multiple maps. I would really dislike it if people just were like, we're gonna play Headland 3 games in a row. I think
Back in the game, it used to. Back in the day, it used to be like you couldn't pick the one you had won on.
yes,
So if you had lost on it, you could pick it again. If you somehow lost on your good map, And I liked it as a player, but as a spectator, it's probably better to always see new maps.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
and
I'm fine
you're
either way.
rewarding a skill set of like knowing multiple maps as well, opposed to just.
Mhm.
And then like player B has 2 vetoes, which, like figured that would make sense. Generally, maps for the most part we don't have like 3 of the same kind of map, or 4 I guess is the more important thing, because then you could like if you don't want to play on like Headland or Headland clones, we'll say, as Sneaky put it, like, you only have to play on one of them in a best of 3.
No, this is not a thing. Stop it.
Yeah, it was a joke the first time, but anyway.
Yeah, but like there are maps that are more similar than others, and if you only want to play on one of those maps, then that's kind of like where that rule is coming from. I think like this was also made when there was more intention of having some form of naval available on one of the maps, like more like that being more of a thing. Obviously that didn't really happen in this tournament. There are some naval elements on maps, but like the idea is that you can just veto out naval entirely, like if you really, really hated it. So
I mean, we don't really have naval. We just have a map that has a tiny bit of naval units, but doesn't have like actual naval against.
yeah, like there's like elements of water in there, right? Like I think one map has a port at least, right? And like a couple
Port?
have converters, so
I mean, technically there is a port on like Meadow, but it's the fake port.
yeah, you're building like amphibious stuff there. You're not building, but anyway. Also the commander bans, you ban both players blind ban 3. So we use the bot for that. And just,
Yeah,
like,
and the ban is like it only applies to your opponent,
yes. So
which I think is way better.
On that
The only-
roll, there are some interesting situations in Wargroove 2, considering the number of viable commanders. We're in desperate need of a balance patch, but right now there are. I think I don't want to get into tier list talk, but there are like maybe 5 good commanders that are like good on every map. And like, since we have 3 bands, you might not want to face some of them, but you don't know if you want to pick one based on what your opponent is banned, which could affect what you ban. So there's an argument to be made. What I'm getting at is that, like, I ban, you ban, I ban, you ban could be better given the current situation, but that might go away given time. I'm not sure.
I think it's ideal as it is right now. I like it.
Okay, I mean, from my end, as long as it's like people are okay with it, even if there are other systems they might also enjoy, like as long as they're happy playing on like this system, like that's kind of the main thing. And then like
Yeah, this isn't bad. This isn't bad.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
let's move
mean,
on because I want
if
to
I
spend
had
more time
like
on Mastro.
my way, I would have a system that prevents mirrors, but you know, that's probably
I
not.
would too.
That's
Honestly, I
probably not for
hate
the best.
mirrors so much. I wish we could prevent them somehow.
Yeah, but I think it's better for the game if you can pick mirror.
I think like preventing mirrors would give even more advantage to first pick.
Yeah, it's
Would.
kind
It
of
would.
that.
It's an extra, but you give them one less ban, you know?
It actually doesn't matter. I think.
I think like before when it was everybody banned when bans affected both players, like I banned Vesper and neither of us can play Vesper anymore. I think that encouraged mirrors more than like this system where
Yeah, with the previous
That's
system,
true.
you banned the CO only if it was one of the top COs, and you couldn't beat your opponent in a mirror because as long as the CO wasn't banned, you could always mirror. So basically, I go from the top of the list of COs and I go, can I beat you in the mirror with this CO? No, I ban. Next one. I can beat you? Okay. I don't ban. And then if your opponent also thinks they can beat you with that CO, it's a forced mirror.
I agree that it's
Yeah.
better with bans only applying to your opponent.
I do
Anyway,
like yeah, I mean someone brought up I think Saykoya brought up a while back of like a drafting system that you decide before the set, but that's quite complicated and I think we just wanted to keep it kind of simple for this one. Maybe that's a thing that's get tested in the future, but
okay, timeline. How
Right.
long for round one?
so the first round is 2 weeks. You are
2
sent like
weeks.
every round is a week, but the first everybody's basically been given an extra week of buffer at the start, and that's to help with scheduling. Like a bunch of people have mentioned, like they're going on holiday and stuff. Which,
Okay. I thought it was 10 days or so, but 2 weeks is nice. Okay.
yeah.
2 weeks.
So, and there might be instances where people have to forfeit. But if there is a forfeit in like the first round, for example, because of like someone's going away for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, then like at least they'll have the lower bracket run after that. But because everybody also knew all their matchups quite far ahead of time, especially if you were in like the second and third qualifiers making it through, then you you knew your maps months ago, right? Like if you just did the math.
No.
So
Yeah, I think 2 weeks is more than might even be over. But anyway, like even 10 days would have probably been enough. But still,
I mean,
it's
just
fine.
think of
And then
it
every other
starting
round.
next week and having 1 week.
yeah, having
I
an
mean, Vested and I are going to fight in 2 days,
Okay, good to know.
give or take.
Nice.
nice. Well, the best luck. Other rules. I mean, these are all very standard, basically standard settings. Like
Yeah, 60-minute
weather,
timer is
60-minute test timer, incomes based default biome. We go to map default or grass, just like the way it goes. And commanders teams default, all that good
So
stuff.
about the timer, 60 minutes has been the standard for a while. Some people, haha me, still time out, but it's a pretty generous time. Especially if the game is like aggressive and dynamic. If it stalls though, no matter what the clock is, the threat of timeout is there because when the game stalls, so many units build up that it's super hard to move at in a timely manner. But yeah, 60 minutes is usually just fine. You can play high quality games with that clock, and it's not like too long.
I think it's too long. I don't think we can make it shorter and still have the same quality of gameplay, but I think 60 minutes is too long because in a good game, it will be a 2-hour game, and that is a lot of time to spend on one game.
But like,
I think it's like as far as you can push it. Like the only thing I could see exception wise to that would be having like some kind of sudden death timer on top of that, like in a theoretical, would like discourage people from just kind of camping at the end because like they think, oh, I can time my opponent out in like the 2-hour mark, right? Like that sort of discourages that to some extent, but which would sort like there's a thing in like the Smash scene where like the timer is so long that like people don't time out or try and go for timeouts, whereas like if it's a bit shorter then people try and play towards that. But
so
yeah.
like,
I think 2 hours is a big time. It's also not just the 2 hours of gameplay. Like there's also the setup of the match as well, and it actually goes over 2 hours in game because turn transition animations also add, which when you go to like 30 or 40 turns, depending, it can be like another 5-10 minutes.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest problems with Wargroove is the games are too long. Because like if you look at a game of League of Legends, it feels like a really exhausting long game. It's 40 minutes. The average game is 40 minutes.
A lot shorter now, actually. They've done a lot to make it shorter.
But, they've been trying to shorten it. And then there's the mobile version of League that has less towers to make it even faster. It's like, Wargroove is an unusually long game. We are at the level of chess.
I extremely disagree because Wargroove is not comparable to League of Legends. It's comparable to classical chess, and classical chess takes 6 hours.
I know, but that's what I was saying. It's like we're treating this like chess, but
it's way closer to chess than League. That's the point. Like it's actually very short, but the problem is we just don't have the player base and the commitment chess has. Pro chess players make money out of it. We don't. So it's like people have to, do other stuff, be students or work.
Even chess is using different time formats now. Blitz has become super popular, right?
Well, the big important tournaments are classical. The most important version of the game, you can make Blitz Wargroove, I guess. It would be worse, I'd say. But we're playing basically rapid Wargroove, that's what I'm saying. And there is rapid chess, but like the most competitive, most like important chess format is classical, and it's the 6-hour format.
Okay, I don't want to get derailed too much by timer discussion. I mean, I guess we could all agree that like 60 minutes is the best we have available right now.
Yeah, due to a bunch of circumstances, but like I'm saying, like in theory, like in the magical world where Wargroove is as popular as chess is, I think we would need chess like the timers chess has for classic. Like I think those are like the best for the best game quality in absolute terms.
I think the opposite is true. I think we had that in the early days of Wargroove, and it turned thousands of people away from the game.
No, we didn't have timers at all.
I will say, like, I mean, more like flexible timer options would probably be better, but it's true that it can, like, some games can, like, be a bit too long.
And also, Sneaky, we never had chess's popularity.
I will say that we also have, like, because of how we have the timer work, you only really feel the timer near the end of the game, so you're not like pushed to play faster at every stage of the game. Where like for example, in an RTS, you want to improve your APM like through the whole game basically. But right now we're like, the only time where you use like where your APM peaks is like when you're like, oh, I'm getting low on timer, I have to play faster.
That's not true for.
I mean,
that's not true for you. That's not true for me.
Yeah, but in general, like we don't have incentive to like train how to like play your opening moves faster, for example.
You know that's not true.
I mean,
I think
you
that's like
can
a
play your
learned
opening
behavior.
like 5 seconds slower per turn, and it won't actually impact the game. That's not like how the timer is spent, really.
I think playing fast in the early part of a game is a learned behavior, because like the moment you start feeling timeouts and like noticing you're like losing games because of that, then you're like, oh, I just need to play out my first 5 turns like immediately and just learn them.
I mean,
And
I'm just saying, for example, if you had for example, if you had a time bank and then like a turn timer next to it, that's like somewhat short. And then when your turn timer ends and you go into the bank, you hear a ding. Then basically,
You would
the
feel
game
pressure,
would be
yeah.
telling you,
play faster.
you are now eating into your bank. And so you have that like incentive to play faster every turn.
I
agree,
get what
actually.
you're saying, and that's good psychologically. But anything that extends the length of a game of Wargroove is bad for the health of Wargroove. Right
Yeah, I
now,
know,
shorter
but like,
games are more popular, and like if Wargroove is ever gonna grow as opposed to shrink, it needs to be more accessible and take less time.
Actually,
Yeah,
I
mean,
would argue, and like I guess we're trying to end on this note because we're getting into timer talk, and ironically, timer talk is the thing that takes the most time. But I think something Spacefront said that I very much agree with is that the lack of like an asynchronous casual way of doing a timer is like probably one of the bigger things that's keeping people, because if you sit down to play a quick play match, you don't know how long it's going to take. Like it could take 10 minutes or it could take 30 hours. Like you never know. Like I played a 2.5 hour game on my stream at the start of Wargroove 1 because like neither of us could really push to like win the game. Eventually I cheesed them because that map had a road tile underneath the stronghold and I had a dragon, but um yeah, like I actually really think like the lack of being able to do like proper asynchronous gameplay in this game is like a huge negative towards like people wanting to play casually. Even if it was like something like you have to take a turn every 2 days. I play games that have that kind of rule set where it's like you have to take your like you when your opponent finishes their turn, you got 2 days. And I think that actually works really well. So
Though at this point, I think we're leaving the discussion about the tournament and
yeah,
going into general
that's
game
kind of where I
stuff.
wanted to move on. Like, just from specifically the timer. Obviously, like I think we all wish we had more options for timer.
Yeah, because even if we had an async timer, it wouldn't matter for this tournament. This is
Yeah.
a sync tournament.
Yeah. But
Anyway, forfeits.
yeah, this was put in just because like people were just clicking end turn as fast as they could, and this is just like you have to do an action, every other
Yeah.
turn at least.
Yeah, this prevents a specific way to make games infinite. Yeah, it's just like a failsafe or what you want to call it. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, basically is eligibility. And this is pretty simple. Like you just have to be unbanned from the Wargroove Discord, and you are subject to being banned at any point. So if someone misbehaves during the tournament, does something to get kicked out, you have to do some pretty severe stuff to get kicked out of the community. Then this is just like basically a rule saying we can just remove you from the tournament for that. And also,
So this one I actually have a comment on, a little bit of spice.
Should not communicate is a bit. Should not receive help, maybe.
What?
On.
oh, you
It
mean
looked
are you
like
talking about
forward
eligibility still, Sneaky?
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, but
I thought to move on.
Right,
Okay.
Sneaky, go.
oh,
Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah, like I don't like the eligibility rule. The reason is I don't like that people who are banned from a Discord can't compete in a tournament. I understand their practical concerns, and I'm not thinking about any particular person when I say this, to be clear. But just from like an honor perspective, I guess, I can think of a lot of reasons that someone can and should be banned from a Discord community. But if they haven't cheated in a tournament, banning them from a tournament feels like banning someone from playing a game. I personally don't agree with that.
I think with the way we play Wargroove, you have to communicate with your opponent. You have to schedule with your opponent, and I think that
You
know
also need
if
to be able to communicate with the admins as well.
yeah if I think it's like, I mean,
Yeah, I completely agree
there's
with
like
Sneaky on
there's
principle, but there
reasons
are
for and
practical
against. Like I
concerns.
I mean,
my
also
biggest reason like against this rule would probably be that some regions just don't have access to Discord.
that's also a
But
good point. Like that
but
is
yeah, I
something I wish we
don't
could do
think
something
that
more about. But
I think since you need like communication scheduling and you basically need to have an interaction with someone
Yeah, this
if
is basically forced by the way the game is made, sadly.
yeah, I mean, technically we could use like the website StartGG has its own built-in communication thing that's really good if you're doing like a live tournament. Like everybody sits down for like 5 or 6 hours or whatever, and we just play out the whole bracket like that. Like that's the in-game communication for this website is fantastic for that circumstance. There are things like call the admin button and stuff like that. It's really good for that. But the issue comes when you're doing something longer term is they're expecting everybody to log into a website to check messages.
Yeah,
That's like just not
it's just super
practical.
hard.
Um,
I don't know if there's a way to fix it for Wargroove, but like this is becoming a bigger issue in games with things becoming more digitized, and there's a whole debate about people owning their games or not owning their games, and things being offloaded to Discord. And then if you're not on Discord, you can't play a game. If you don't have Steam, if Steam has an issue with you, then you lose access to the. Like there's all
yeah, I
this
mean,
stuff going on. I feel like even if we can't fix it in our small community right now, I just wanted to at least say that I don't like that rule.
Oh yeah, on principle I agree, but yeah, we
okay,
can't
I
do
mean,
anything about
like
it right now.
I would actually
ideally
disagree, but
like you
like
can do everything that has to do with the game inside the game, right?
Yeah.
yeah, I
But
mean,
not every game is like that.
I would also note like just from a like an admin standpoint, if someone has done something um worthy of being banned from like the Discord, then like we would, even if like, because there was actually a point in the Groove of War days when we had a rule that said if someone was banned from like the main Discord, like we would consider that being worthy of being banned from events because like we just kind of trusted the admin judgment there. I mean, I get your point. Like, obviously, like power can be abused, and like it does suck if someone feels like they've been put in an outsider position. But on the
I don't
flip
think
side,
Snake is talking about abuse of power. I think he's talking
I
more
mean,
like
I mean, I'm just
there
talking
are
from a
things that
potential standpoint. Like, I'm not putting words in Sneaky's mouth
because
here.
you'd ban people from Discord for things that you wouldn't want to ban them from tournaments for, in my
No, actually,
opinion.
I
Like
disagree
if
completely.
somebody
No, I disagree completely. If you have done something that warrants getting banned from a community, you are banned from tournaments. Like something like I don't care. Like behavior in tournament environment and then like in a community setting is so important. Like really is. And people do not value this enough, I think. There have been so many issues across like so many tournaments around the world where admins have just like not stepped in because of like people have broken social rules and not actual tournament rules. And like it's just coming back to bite them because all that happens is those people get worse and then you get all kinds of problems. And I'm not speaking about just Wargroove here, I'm speaking about everything. Like Nintendo literally just banned the world champions of Splatoon because the guys who won were racist, like, and being openly racist, and like it was like really bad, and it'd been known about for a while, but like it took people actually bringing it up to them, and then they were like, actually no, we're not okay with this, and we are going to ban them for like their behavior, even if it was outside of the tournament, because you have to hold people to a certain standard socially, and that is just the way the world works, and it's the way the world should work. Like there are all
okay,
kinds of problems with people
can
doing.
I briefly comment on that?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on that
The
too, but
problem with
please
this
I
finish
is that
mean,
if you weren't
is
can I
that
done.
just
then the
say
person who won the
my point
tournament.
is very brief, so I'll just say I agree because like playing a tournament, playing with someone is a social interaction. So, having social rules around it also just makes sense.
The
Now
problem with
I'm done.
this is that when you win a tournament, you are considered the best player on something, and if you can do this, you're just gonna ban a bunch of people. For example, if this was done in chess, if this was enforced in chess as you would like, Barrett, uh, like most world chess champions would be banned from playing the game. And the result of this would be that when somebody won the world chess championship or became number one ranked in chess, there would be a bunch of asterisks there. Oh, but there are probably 2 or 3 players that actually would destroy that guy, but they're all banned. And then it's like, okay, why are we even making the tournament? Like, actually, do we want to find who the best player is, or do we not want to find who the best player is?
I
Is
think
it
that. Sorry.
from a pure
if you want-
competitive like perspective? It like really devalues the tournament to just ban somebody for like for violating things that don't have to do like directly with tournament rules, with like cheating and stuff like that. And again, most world chess champions have been insane, like super crazy. But if you ban all of them, okay, now who's champion? Nobody. Actually, nobody. The guy who's champion right now doesn't have any value. They're not the best chess.
But I
So
think, Mastro, your like point is also like self. It's also a cycle. If you don't ban people for being bad persons, then you'll have more bad persons, and then you'll
Yeah, then you'll have
just
like
be
the insane
in a
racist
situation
misogynist
where you
champion, and that's
don't
also a
want to
bad
ban
look.
bad people because you didn't do it before. It's like
um,
if you ban bad people, then maybe the next ones will be better, and then you
Right.
won't have the problem.
I have a slightly different point to make. I don't believe people should be banned for being evil, because I think that evil changes every 100 years. And we always find in the next generation that the people we thought were evil and bad, some of them we were abusing. Some subset of them we were wrong. I have an issue with banning people who are evil. Now, I want to caveat that with a big asterisk, saying that that does not apply to people who cause problems during a tournament. Like people are bringing up the Smash community. And my opinion changes when you're talking about people who go to these tournaments and as part of the social event of the tournament, screw with other people. My opinion changes when that starts happening. The reason, though, that I feel this way in Wargroove, that banning evil people is not a good thing, is because you don't have any social interaction. Like, you message somebody on Discord, when do you want to do this game? This time. Okay, and that's it.
I would disagree
I've had this
with that.
interaction with people I don't know and I don't have to interact with, and if there's a problem, I go to the admin and then we find a time and that's it. And I don't need, like, in my early days of Wargroove, I didn't know anybody and I didn't need to know anybody. I feel like there's not enough social interaction in this kind of situation to say that. And I disagree with you, Barrett, fundamentally, that people should be banned for being evil. I don't think we have the right to do that to people. Someone commits murder, they get out of jail. Are they banned from every gaming tournament now? Should we respect that they've changed their life and move that around? Do we have to make that judgment on every single person and what line they cross?
I mean, there are actually specific kinds of crimes though, where like you are banned and forbidden from going to certain places, and like there are like people who are not allowed to go
Places
anywhere.
where minors.
Places where there are minors. I mean, that is a big deal. Like I mean, and this is a thing that has happened in communities that I've been in, as people have been found out to have been. I guess we're going like kind of on a pretty serious topic here, but like people have been found to doing stuff with people that are underage that they shouldn't be doing, and got banned from that. And it's just like, yeah, like those people aren't allowed at tournaments anymore because.
Okay, but I caveated that. I made it clear that I wasn't talking about that.
Oh yeah, I know, but like it's just like that is.
I think
of,
we've completely gone off track. I just
it's
want to say that
police.
it's completely reasonable, in my opinion, to ban somebody on Discord just because they're kind of rude and toxic and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I wouldn't want somebody to like not play in a tournament because they're kind of rude and toxic sometimes on Discord. Like, just saying, like that's my final statement on this. And I think we need to move on. It's
Okay.
okay. I'm not gonna force you to accept my final word. People can say a last line on things, but I think we should move on right after.
I will just say, and it's on topic. It's more on topic actually, because I think scheduling is a social interaction. I'd say because you have to reach an agreement with someone about like if you don't have a nice timing, then like there's goodwill that gets involved. Like, oh, I'm gonna have to like take a time off of something I had planned initially, for example, and goodwill is involved, and you also have to trust that your opponent is also putting in some goodwill, because if you can't trust your opponent is gonna also make time for you, then scheduling gets really bad. Like if you can't find an initial time, then you're like, oh, I'm gonna propose some more timings that I sacrifice something to like free up. And if your opponent is and you expect your opponent to also do it, but if they don't do that, then like I don't think it's okay,
You can be
because you're like
manipulated by somebody
you
who's
you
like
give up
scheduling in
something, you
bad
expect
faith.
the opponent to also do it. If they don't, then it's not really fair, basically.
Yeah, okay. I do
I
agree.
think that qualifies though as doing something in the tournament. Like if someone is playing games with people in that way in the tournament, that's absolutely bannable. I have no problem with that. You're fucking with the tournament itself. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Language.
It's
but
fine.
like
You get
the
one.
only like measurable thing about that is like how willing you are to free up your time, and it's a very social thing. So I don't think it's that like
Anyway.
far removed
I guess like my final
in this
point would be
case.
like tournaments are inherently like a social thing. Like it isn't just a test of who is the best player. There is an element of like we are doing this because we want to build a community and because we want to build social interactions and there's like a kind of social network as well. And I get that that might not be why everybody is looking at this, but from the point of view of the admins, like a lot of what we're doing is we're just doing it so people can kind of come together and like bond over a mutual interest. Like that is a huge element of why we're doing this in the first place. So
I think that's a good point. Like people approach tournaments for different reasons, and those reasons can dictate how we feel about this issue.
yep. And
Anyway, let's go to coaching now.
yeah, let's go to
So,
coaching. So this is another going to be this one's difficult because it's really difficult for admins to enforce in an online environment as well. Like coaching and any kind of like screen sharing and cheating has been like a real big issue in lots of communities, and the way those communities handle it are very different. To the point of like having people download software into the computers like anti-cheat and stuff. We don't have any of that kind of thing. All we can do is just ask people not to, and like that
also, I
is
think
the
the
best we can
wording
do.
is kind of weird. You should not communicate. Like it should be something like you should not receive help because like you should not communicate.
I think
mean,
actually I
my
think
mother
there
walks
is
by and says something. I'm banned.
I mean
You know,
I think like obviously like we're not gonna like be too harsh on
It's-
people, right? Like, and this is very much like almost like
oh yeah,
a
it's
gentleman's
not gonna be
agreement, but
enforced. Yeah,
yeah,
but I'm saying like just for
but yeah,
you
like
know
the
the
idea
inner
is
lawyer in me, even though I have nothing
yeah,
nothing to do with.
I get what you mean. Like, there's like a definite level of like it's really hard to word a rule set like this so it covers everything because
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm saying players
Yeah.
should not communicate with anyone specifically. Bugs me like bad
Um,
wording, in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, like if if the person you're living with is like, do you want a glass of water or whatever during a match, like that's like a very different thing to like
That's communicating.
yeah, but it's like the
That's what
idea.
I'm saying.
The
Players should not
spirit of
receive
it
help.
is like we don't want people to just be talking to anybody else while they're playing a game because like
Yeah.
and like receiving any kind of help or anything, like you should really just like not be looking at your DMs. I mean, this also applies to people who are like watching games or something, like just like don't talk to people who are playing. I think it's like a pretty respectful thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also going back to like that social thing earlier, right? Like this is a social environment, but like there are some social rules that have to be adhered to by everybody.
Oh, I'll pause here. I'm sorry if you haven't posted your code publicly, and I'm trying to watch the game. I will ping you for codes. I'm very sorry, but like I don't care.
No. You shouldn't do that in the middle of a game.
They shouldn't not be posting codes for a tournament game, in my opinion. Like actually, I think all those games should be played live
Wait, are you talking about during the game or after the game?
during the.
No, people can play their games privately if they want to. Like as long
I,
as the code gets
I
posted
actually
after,
don't like that. I don't like.
as long as the codes are
Yeah.
posted after the game, then that is the main thing. I mean, actually, that is a thing that is missing from the rules is that the game code should be posted to the Play's channel. I might add that after this. Like that should be a rule that says like for a game to count, like it has to be like left open and
Also, if anybody's playing with me, like I used to ask for permission and respect it if you didn't give it. If we're playing a tournament game, it's gonna be played live. I don't believe I should have the power to take away someone's right to watch the game live. So at least for all my games, the code will always be posted live before the game.
Okay, I mean that's your choice. But
And
if two people are like, we just want to play, and then we'll, because I know that can actually mess with some people. Is like the idea of like they have people watching, they start building up pressure in their heads, and it's just like
I mean, the
I know
finals
I
or
know
something are gonna be streamed live, right?
yeah, the finals will be, that's a different thing. But like if you're just playing round of 16 or round of 8 or whatever, or lower bracket round of 2 or whatever, like it should be like on the players to decide, hey, like we just want to play this game, we'll post the code afterwards, and that is
I
completely
also
fine
want
with
all of
players.
those to be streamed if possible. Like not by you, obviously you're already doing way too much for us. But like I'll try to stream as many as I can myself after I build my new PC in a few days, and then I'll also ask other people to try and stream them. And if I'm trying to get somebody to stream games and suddenly, whoa, we're not letting you stream the game, that feels so annoying. Like honestly, it's the World Championship. I believe all the games should be.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't
it would be
think.
good if we could stream a lot more of them. That would be good. And if anybody needs help with that, by the way, I have all like the tech set up for like doing overlays and stuff. I think Sneaky, you were asking about that. I'll send it over to you when I can.
But yeah, I'm
So
saying like for the weird circumstance, I don't think this will happen often. But like, I don't think players should get to like, let's say there's a streamer ready who wants to actually stream one of the sets, and they're like, we're playing right now, but no, we won't let you. That feels like it shouldn't happen in a world championship to me. It
So Mastro makes a good point. We've never been very consistent about when you need to post the code, and this does create some unusual advantages. Like, for example, if someone has a set at the start of the round and they don't post the code,
I wasn't
their
talking about
friends
advantages. I
could
was
see
talking
that
about strictly
code.
viewer
No,
experience.
but I
I
think
mean,
Sneaky's talking about
it's a,
something else. So Sneaky,
yeah.
keep making your point.
So I was saying that depending on when you post the code for your match, it can create weird advantages and disadvantages. For example, let's say me and Zested, we're going to play a round in 2 days. Let's say we decide to play that privately because it might sound weird because I broadcast everything, but I was considering, maybe I'll do this one privately if that's allowed. Though Master, you've made a good point that maybe we shouldn't, and we can talk about that in a minute. But I was thinking, maybe we'll do that privately for once. If Zestin and I don't post that code, but one of us has a friend we're prepping with and shows them that code, that person has extra information that no one else has. And then we post the code at the end of the round. So that person has had extra information for a certain number of days. And that might influence their next match with someone else. On the other hand, if we do post the code, then everyone gets to see our code before their games in the same round. So no matter what you do, there's some kind of effect it has on the tournament. And allowing people to choose when to post the code could allow for some weird manipulation. I don't know if we need a rule about that.
I
I
mean, the only way to
uh,
avoid that would be to force everybody to post at the last minute, like last day,
can
for
I
example.
can I just say something?
Yeah.
That is more practical, but if you post the code at the start of the game, then we're way less likely to have lost codes and replays
Ooh,
that's
that's
also
That's
true.
true.
because spectators will go in and we can go, hey, spectators also don't close the games because we want to make sure we don't want to lose them.
I think that's fair. I mean,
Or could be a reason.
yeah, I
I mean,
mean,
it's
I
the
could
best
definitely,
viewer experience.
I definitely agree. Like does reduce the risk of people accidentally closing a game, and it's really unfortunate when we lose replays. Like I really like, especially we've lost some absolute amazing games from what I've been told by players. But yeah, it's difficult, and also, I mean, as far as you're talking about the when people are posting codes, if people are just playing later than others, like, and you're forcing codes to be open, um like earlier. Like if you're playing earlier in the start of a round or whatever, like that means that you're giving up an advantage you would have otherwise, because like um people will be able to see your games sooner, which means they'll be able to prep against you for like the next round in theory, depending. And that does affect certain things. Like in some cases, like if you're sitting in like the lower bracket because you lost further along in winners side, you're going to be able to look at who's coming up through the bracket, and you're going to be able to get more time to prep against them. And having those codes sooner does give you an advantage. So it's really difficult, right? And there's no perfect solution to this. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't do anything, but
Well, it's very hard to decide when it comes to competitive advantages, but when it comes to viewer experience and saving codes and streaming the games, for all of
I
those,
actually would say then, like, based on that, I think we should be just saying to people like post your codes in the general, like the in matchmaking or somewhere else, yeah, like
ideally
your codes.
immediately.
Yeah,
Like,
like post your codes like when the lobby's made, and then um yeah, then like nobody's.
Yeah, you can also have someone enter the game and go, "This is the wrong map version."
yeah, it's also true.
I guess that is like the one exception I would make to like the don't talk to players, is like if they're literally playing on the wrong version of a map, you could
That's a
But
fair
Maybe,
reason.
you know, at the start of the game, not at the end.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Um
Or in the middle, because at that point you should tell the admin and let them choose whether or
Yeah.
not to tell the players.
Okay, sudden death.
Well, one quick thing on that last point. If we do hypothetically ask players to post the code in the beginning, does that mean everything's open for streaming?
yeah.
Or
Yeah,
okay,
like people can stream codes or whatever. As long as you're like not like helping the players or anything.
yeah, of course.
Yeah, like people are free to make content out of this. Like that's kind of the big point of it, right? Is that like anybody can look through this.
We
And,
desperately need people to make content.
yeah, we do
We're
need more
starving.
streamers. We do need more YouTubers. We do need everything. So like if people want to watch and record games, that is completely fine as well. Just as long as they're not impacting the players directly, then that's
Mhm.
Like you can wait until after the set's complete to ask them what the bans were, like if it comes to that. But I think the bot posts it publicly. I'm not
Yeah,
It
but
Yeah,
posts
it does.
publicly.
so
Well, I mean, we don't have the bot for map bans, but yeah.
yeah. Anyway, sudden death. This was kind of a last minute addition. We didn't run this rule in the opens, but we have run it in the past, and like people were asking about it, and there was some discussion. I saw people make different points about it. I think it's important enough to include. It's very much one of the "we hope this never happens" rules, but it's just there to prevent um cases where like the timer runs out on both sides and neither of them can finish. Um, it's so rare that this ever comes into play, but I think it has like once or twice. And we're also at a disadvantage when it comes to Wargroove 2, where in Wargroove 1 we did have a replay system that was like using a third party, and that would have a bunch of stats and stuff, so we could easily look up what army values were and what uh like what incomes were and stuff like that. Yeah. But I even say here, due to a lack of detailed replay system, like we'll do our best with this. Obviously it's not perfect.
I mean, you can do it perfectly as long as the code is safe, but it's like harder to do, more tedious.
Yeah, like going through and counting like the health of every unit and stuff.
Oh, for army value, no, we don't do army value.
Army value is technically used if it's a complete tie break, but and that's always been the case. This is a copy paste of the previous
Surely
rule.
that won't happen.
Yeah, but like it will just come down to, I mean, we may even just like say injured units count as full health ones for the sake of simplicity. Because otherwise you're like trying to calculate how much that golem had 2 turns before or something. And
Yeah.
that's just
I
like
think, yeah, I mean, we'll only have to do it once if it happens, like max, right? So I
yeah.
think it's fine.
I mean, it's just unfortunate that we have to have a rule like this. I wish there was like a better timer system that prevented it, but like yeah, it is an unfortunate reality of just like the way we run things and the way chess timer works in this game.
I mean, can we do unit count instead of army value?
Uh,
Does not have army value.
army value is more fair.
Yeah, but army value is like okay. Now army value is the super.
If you have 10 golems and your opponent has 11 swords, I think the golem person is ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, but it's like super hard to count. Anyway, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Valder pops his tier 2 groove at the last minute and builds out of every barracks, right? Like and tower and
Greenfinger
hideout.
grooves.
Building Thief Trooper at the last turn
Greenfinger.
to win.
Yeah.
Greenfinger grooves.
Actually, that wouldn't work because it says the beginning of your last turn.
Yeah, but if
Yeah,
you can
well,
see it's
you know,
coming,
the-
like you can just
The
Previous
last
turn,
turn
yeah.
that counts, basically.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you just
Anyway,
both players would just start spamming out of, like we're trying to like get rid of like ridiculous strategies at the end of games to try and win, not add to it. So
let's
we're both
go to
coming
matchups.
yeah,
Though.
right. We'll go to matchups and then I think we'll do a very, very quick tier list, but like no.
Yeah,
No
I want to
really, really quick, but
maybe
anyway.
just don't do tier list at all because I wanted to spend some time for matchups and we've already.
Oh, but we can do tier list next one. Alright, so let's go to the bracket.
Yeah,
I
let's
think this
get
should
into
show
matchups anyway.
Okay. We'll get a bit at a time, that's fine. So
Yeah.
Saykoya, Mr. Cat.
Mr.
mean-
Cat wins. No, I think the Pro will win, but Mr. Cat
Wait,
could win.
wait. Not so fast. Like before we go to like immediate predictions, we should talk about the players a bit, right?
You're
Build some
right, you're right.
narratives. Who is Saykoya? Who is Mr. Cat?
Yeah,
You
who
know,
is
maybe
that
Saykoya will tell
Saykoya
you.
guy?
So
Yeah.
Saykoya, number 1 seed coming into the event. Previous champion of Groove of War 8.
World champion.
World champion.
Whoa!
The reigning, defending, undisputed Wargroove champion of the world. Right?
Slightly disputed.
I mean, yeah.
Undisputed, I agree.
But yeah, I mean, Mr. Cat, prolific map maker in the community, has made lots of very good, in particular, Fog of War maps. Like, I know people have had a lot of very positive things to say about Mr. Cat's maps as far as Fog of War goes, but also makes good standard maps too. And yeah, like I think Saykoya's got it, like predictions wise. And that's no like. I'm not trying to say anything bad about Mr. Cat or anything, but they are coming into this event as 16th seed, and
That said, they did not lose to become 16th seed. Like the final game to decide 15th or 16th seed was not played. The players weren't able to schedule it, so
they did lose
it was
before that though. They did lose.
yeah,
in the
that's true.
semis.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like they for the final game
Could
they
have
got the
been
coin toss.
15th.
Yeah, they could have been 15th. So you know.
Yeah. But
I'm gonna say this about Mr. Cat. In every past tournament, Mr. Cat has been the super underdog, that like newish player who's entered a few tournaments, but we don't think they're gonna go very far. This tournament, I think Mr. Cat has leveled up to the point where they are a contender for the championship.
I mean, I wouldn't say Mr. Cat has a great sense of winning the whole thing, but he has gotten a lot better. And we saw that in the first Open, where Mr. Cat, although he didn't qualify, he defeated Zested, who is, you know, a more established player known for being, you know, very strong in general. And certainly people consider Zested like a tier above Mr. Cat as a player. You know, this time when they met, Mr. Cat was able to take the set, and you know that shows something. Mr. Cat has improved a lot. He past Mr. Cat would not have beaten past Zest.
I think if the map pool was different for the last World Championship, Zested would have been a contender.
We'll go to Zested before that. Let's praise Mr. Cat first. And let's also praise Saykoya though. Like when Saykoya won the last tournament, I felt he wasn't clearly the best player. He might have been the best player, but it was close. Right now, I feel like Saykoya is clearly the best player. I think he has improved since then, and the rest of us haven't as much. So I do believe he's like
Favorite?
the number one favorite for this tournament.
Yay!
Yeah.
I think Saykoya is tied with Skyro for the favorite, personally. But I
Yeah,
also
I mean-
agree with like everything else you said. I think during the last World Championship, I had some questions about map choices. We won't go too far into that. But I think after that, Saykoya established himself as the best player and was the best player consistently from that point forward.
That said, it was basically a big off season, so other players weren't playing as much. But Saykoya's best quality, the reason why he's so good, I think Saykoya likes the game more than anybody else. So he plays the most, cares about it all the time, even if it's off season, even if there are no tournaments, even if it's just like casual games. I haven't played the casual game of Wargroove ever. Saykoya will play FFAs with you sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's more than that. Saykoya has several really high level skills that set them apart. First of all, Saykoya does not make mistakes. I can't stress how essential this is. This is the reason
I
she was able to.
I disagree. Saykoya
No,
makes
no.
mistakes. They're just like smaller.
Okay, sure. But like Saykoya makes fewer mistakes than Shu. And I can say this as someone who was studying Shu to try to lethal them and determined that the only way I could ever lethal Shu was by doing this convoluted series of events to force them into a weird position. Saykoya is harder to lethal than Shu. I'm gonna say that. Like Saykoya does not just lose the game out of nowhere. They have such good defense, such good practices. They make so few mistakes, play so accurately. Saykoya plays faster than Shu ever did, with higher accuracy. And on top of that, Saykoya has pioneered several strategies. And on top of that, is comfortable with almost every commander, knows them at a very high level, is really good at deployments, can play from behind, is great at defense, and has learned to attack in a very explosive way. And many of these things are not true of almost every other player at the top level.
So like the
I'll
Shu
take
versus
it.
Saykoya comparison is a bit unfair because yes, Saykoya is harder to lethal than Shu is, but their playstyle isn't as similar. Like you might have thought Shu is a very similar player to Saykoya, but actually Shu is intuitive offensive, Saykoya is intuitive defensive.
Sure.
So like obviously Saykoya will be harder to lethal. I think Shu at his peak was more accurate than Saykoya is at his peak, which is right now though. Saykoya is pitching right now because he loves the game and has been playing forever since he started playing. So he's not picking right now because he doesn't love the game and he's not playing the game at all anymore. And that's like, in my opinion, Saykoya's biggest advantage. He plays the game so much that in the end he has out-improved, outscaled everybody in improvement. He just plays the most. He plays
Sure,
so
Saykoya
much,
plays the most. But
every time. He doesn't hate the game. He doesn't like tilt easily because he just loves playing the game for the game. Like I think he enjoys it win or lose. And when you love the game so much, you play the game so much, it's easier to improve. And that's why he keeps improving. And he has improved since winning the last tournament. And that's why he's safe.
Okay.
Oh,
Everybody's saying
this
nice
is
things.
getting awkward now.
All right, I'm
Yeah,
gonna say something less nice. I'm gonna commentate those replays, and I'm gonna be very frustrated because Saykoya, there will be a lethal on board, and Saykoya won't go for it.
Yeah,
It's
Saykoya
his
never
option.
does.
That's fair.
Oh, yeah.
That is fair.
We were praising Saykoya too much. The thing I disagreed the most with Snake is like you said, Saykoya learned to attack very explosively. Come on, I mean he can attack. Obviously, he's not like bad at attacking, but compared to the rest of his skills, his attacks aren't as sharp. He doesn't take every opportunity. Like other than he'd rather just play the solid move. He might not. He might be able to see the attacks if he looks for them, but he won't look for them to save time. And that's part of his play style. But I wouldn't call Saykoya a great attacking player.
See,
Okay.
I suppose, if you beat Disobey.
All right.
Anyway,
Next match up. Disobeyed and Mastro. So I guess we're going through all of the replay or all the matchups of people here. I will start off by saying I think Mastro has the advantage unless timer becomes a factor, and then I think Disobeyed plays a bit faster, at least from what I've seen.
I mean, let's talk about the players before we go into predictions again. What do you guys think about me?
Hey, that is talking about the players.
Mastro, yeah, free win, timer issues, right? No, I'm joking. Mastro like notoriously has time. I will say has. I mean, probably gotten a bit slower like between the tournaments, but it's gotten faster recently. So like I don't know if they're faster than last tournament or not, but like before some like some more recent like period, I would say like, oh, they're even slower, but I don't think that's the case anymore. So, and I mean, part of it is like when you practice, when you're trying to improve something, it's better to take your time to think about stuff, to like when you're not in a more high pressure environment, I guess.
Oh,
And like
can I
I feel
interrupt you for
I
a
feel
second? The
can I
even
just
slower
finish
part.
talking?
It was mostly about me playing new maps. RJ, you can continue.
Okay, well, I will say, my read on Mastro as a player is that, um, when they're not pressured, when they're in their comfort zone, they're like super scary. Like if you do nothing to get them outside of what like how they think they want to play the map, and like everything goes according to Mastro's plan, then you're not likely to win. Uh, Master can also like find some attacks that you don't feel should be there, but it's like we'll spend the time to go, oh, there's some tactics here that can turn this game around, and we'll find them. So yeah, it's like it's very easy to say, oh, just time or win, but uh you know, when you can, I mean, it's also very hard to, because like to time a win, you have to spend the entire game without being put in a position where winning doesn't like depend on the timer anymore. So you basically have to not let him get a very good turn, and Master's good at finding these very good turns. Like some players will get some advantage little by little. I'm more like that. Mastro will try to go for the big advantages all at once. That's kind of scary.
I think
Also, ban Vesper.
well, one thing we should say, Mastro is the reigning world number 3 and was previously a world number 2. So someone who's come in the top 3 in the past 2 world championships. Very consistently good player. I think Saykoya said most of it, but also Mastro is kind of like the anti-Saykoya, where Saykoya will just take very fast, accurate turns. Mastro will take even more accurate, but incredibly slow turns. And whereas Saykoya is very consistent, Mastro can be less consistent.
I would say that I'm not that I'm inconsistent, but that I'm incomplete. Like I think I'm in my good days more often than Saykoya, because Saykoya has some bad days. Not as often now. He's more consistent now than he used to be. But it used to be that Saykoya had some bad days where he'd just play a lot worse than he should. I think I don't have those, so I don't want to call myself inconsistent, or I don't have those as often. Uh, but I'm incomplete in that when as Saykoya said, when you throw me off my plan, then I'm not as good. I'm very good when things go my way, and but if my opponent makes them not go my way, then I'm less good. And speaking of me being scary when things go my way, Saykoya is scary in that like, wait, why is that a very 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 accurate description of exactly how I play? Well, yeah, that was pretty scary for me.
Oh yeah, you guys didn't say. I'm actually pretty good at studying my opponents.
Yeah. I would describe myself pretty much the way Saykoya described me. I do believe I've gotten a bit faster, but I also have some games where I played super slow. I'd like to think that those were because I didn't know the maps yet, and I'd like to think that when I play with prep, I'm now a bit faster, but I still have timer issues. So yeah, everything you guys said was all super correct. We can move on to disobey.
Okay, so Disobeyed is an amazing player. And I think people don't realize just how good Disobeyed is because they're not a very mature player. Like, they will run into the middle of the game and just oops their army, or oops their commander, or oops their position, or fail to do something they should do and lose the game. But when Disobeyed is on point, they are terrifying. Like, I would rather fight the average Saykoya or Mastro than the best day Disobeyed, but it's just that is a very rare day.
Koja?
I will say Disobeyed is like a very confident player. And this can be both a good and a bad thing. Like Sneaky said, sometimes they oops stuff because they're confident. But the thing is, in Wargroove, like, if you have decision paralysis, you're gonna lose, basically. So being confident is better than not being confident. And I think also being confident is like very scary when you're the opponent, because the opponents, like, because the confident player can go for stuff that on paper is like not the correct strategic decision or whatever. But the thing is, when you're confident, you invest
The opponent can tell.
you invest fully into that attack, and that basically necessitates a perfect response to it.
Yeah, the
So
opponent
yeah,
can tell when you're confident, and it will also sometimes let you get away with stuff because they can tell.
yeah,
Like, they just all in on this. It's probably good. Like, surely they calculated if they all in, right?
yeah. There's that aspect too. Confidence is scary, and it's probably more scary than it is making you oops. So yeah, that's what I have to say about Disobeyed. Solid fundamentals, like the game too, I guess. So yeah, not
And also another player who has improved a lot, I think, recently, right?
Yep. I will say some players you can take them on a map they're not familiar with, and then it'll throw them off their game. And Disobeyed's the kind of player that, like, even if they don't know how the map's supposed to play, they're still like go into a game plan and commit to it. They're not gonna be like, oh, but maybe I have to send a sword there. No, they're just gonna do what they think is right.
I guess like one thing I would add is Disobeyed is one of the map team. This is also true of Mr. Cat as well. They're both two of the people who are in charge of picking maps for events. So they do have knowledge of the map pool, not particularly like far ahead of anybody else. Like, we generally post the map pool like a day or two after any kind of discussion starts. Like, that's a very quick process of like when map discussion happens to when it actually gets posted publicly.
Oh, I mean, yeah,
But just from
I
a
don't
like,
want Disobeyed to catch any flack because of
oh
this. I
no, I'm
mean,
not saying
no,
that. Like,
wait, give me a second, give me a second. That's plus 1 or 2 days. Disobeyed has been like on vacation for 2 weeks,
okay, but I mean, I
so
just wanted
that's
to
minus
note
two
that
weeks.
like, um, I don't think they're gonna go in with like a lack of prep on any map. Is I guess what I would say. Like, I don't think
No,
they're
I'm
gonna
just
go
gonna say,
out.
I'm just gonna say they might because they've been away for 2 weeks and unable to practice.
Fair.
So I don't want people who watch that to say, "Oh, how did Disobeyed not have prep? He had like plus 1 or 2 days." Barrett said so. I want those people to know he actually had like plus 1 or 2 days, but minus 14 days. So
Right.
actually, he was at minus 12. So he had the disadvantage.
Okay. But like,
So,
I guess my point is just that like they're going to be someone who's familiar with the map pool, and all these maps have been around for a while anyway. But like, just as a kind of general thing, I mean, like from my perspective anyway, I think that's how it's going to play out. But I think like the one thing I would say as well is I haven't seen much of Disobeyed recently. He used to play more in TYM earlier in the year, so I'm just kind of looking forward to seeing more Disobeyed. Um, uh, I think that would be
so
cool.
I think we've said all we needed.
Yeah.
Predictions quickly.
Did we ever predict
Uh,
the Mr. Cat versus Saykoya?
Oh,
Yeah.
true. We tried to predict at the start, and then I stopped that,
All
and then we
right.
never predicted. Okay, let's
Let's
predict the first one. Okay, I think Saykoya 2 easily.
I'm gonna say that too, but I might be biased, you know?
Alright, Sneaky.
I think that Mr. Cat is going to take at least one game, but Saykoya wins it.
Okay.
Ooh.
I can
Okay.
see that.
I think the map makers, whether Disobey's have been on vacation or not, do have a little bit of an edge, but more than that, I think Mr. Cat has gotten so much better. I could see them taking a game.
I agree that Mr. Cat has gotten a lot better, but I think Saykoya has gotten more better. So, so the gap is actually wider in this very specific case.
Look,
Okay.
it might be some hopium
Alright.
on my part. I kind of want to root for Mr. Cat, but
Yeah,
we're coming up
yeah.
on 3 hours. Let's
Yeah.
Alright.
Okay.
I think 2-0 Saykoya. Like no, I mean if Mr. Cat does take a game, I'll be excited and I'll be very happy and that'll be awesome. But like I think Saykoya 2-0.
And then Sneak can laugh at all of us if that happens. Okay, B versus Disobeyed. I'll go last.
I'll go first. I think 2-1. I think Disobeyed wins on a timer related game. I think I think the timer will come into play at least one of the games, and Disobeyed will take an edge because of that. But I think Mastro wins it.
It's kind of hard to predict the first round with Mastro, I'd say, and with Disobeyed too, because like haven't seen them in a while, so can't really be sure of what's gonna happen. Like I can't really say anything with any amount of confidence. So I mean, it's just hard to argue with past results. So like, definitely gonna say Mastro wins. I can see Disobeyed taking one. But I'm gonna say that Mastro 2-0.
Sneaky?
Disobeyed 2-1.
Ooh,
Ooh.
spicy.
Ooh.
I just feel
then-
like being spicy. I feel like being spicy.
So
Sneaky's gonna have all the spicy predictions.
that's cool. I like it. I mean, so if I didn't know Disobeyed had like to lose all his prep time to a vacation, I would say he gets a game off. But now I know that he actually lost 2 weeks of prep.
Oh,
So I'll
actually,
say
Mastro is confident, so I'm changing it to 2-1.
so I'll say I win for sure, and it's 50-50 whether he takes a game.
Yeah. That's fair.
Hey, historically, Mastro, when going, I'm so confident I'm gonna win this, is the moment where he falls.
That is actually true. Like you were pretty confident when I spoke to you before the open where you lost.
Yeah, that's true. I wasn't that confident the second open where I also lost though. So
We'll see.
My prediction's looking better.
yeah, and then
Okay.
I was super confident like versus Starzen in Groove of War 7, and I won that one. But then every other one I also won, and I wasn't confident. And then
Okay.
Groove of War 8, I
Anyways.
was super confident when I lost. And then, anyway, let's not.
Sparky versus Sedchan.
That's one of the most exciting matches of this round, I think.
I agree. I'm really looking forward to seeing this one.
So let's talk about the players. So I want to go first here. I'm so excited about this. Sedsan was pretty worst and has always been on vacation and doesn't get to play the game very much. But he has come back and he's derasting. And I think he derasts quickly because he has a lot of experience with the game. So the more experienced you are, the faster you derast. You know? And he's such a great player, but we never see him make a super deep run in a tournament. And I think it could be his time. It all depends on how fast he can derast. I think it's possible. He has been worst so far, but if he takes this tournament really seriously, I think he can do good things. I think he can derast fast enough, exactly because of the experience. On the flip side, even if he does derast fast, I mean,
Sparky's
compared
pretty
to,
good.
yeah, and compared to players who have been improving the whole time, like a Saykoya, I mean, even if he can derast super fast, can he also improve again? I haven't seen him. But anyway, Sparky. Sparky is a new player who did extremely well in the opens. and qualified as the 4th seed, right? Yeah, Sparky is the 4th seed.
I think so,
yeah,
yeah.
I believe so. Yeah, should be.
Yeah, because fourth
Yeah.
and first will be on the same side of the bracket.
Yep. Sparky, a very new player who got very good very fast. We have a few of those in this tournament. Sparky is the first one we're looking at, so we don't have much history to talk about here. But we have recent results, and recently Sparky has been doing very well, in my opinion. I don't think he's a player who can win the tournament, but I do think he can do quite well, which is a similar rating I'd give to Setshan in the end. I think they're gonna be very well matched, very close in skill level. If things go as I expect them to, somebody could show up Worcester with no prep or something. But like statistically, I think more often than not, they will show up with very close skill levels, even though they're exact opposites. One of them is a super long time player with tons of experience, who has to de-rust, and another one is an improving super new player who has to, climb the ranks super fast. And that makes it very interesting from a storyline sort of. And you guys can go. I was about to give a prediction, but no, I let you guys talk about the
I'll
players
skip
first.
my turn because you said enough for me and we're running on time. Saykoya, you can go.
Okay. I will say, okay, Sejun, I'll just add on to what you said because you were pretty exhaustive and I don't disagree with much. Sejun, okay, there's real talk. Can Sejun play more than Sejun Lytra? Can Sejun pick like
Wolfer
another
too.
commander?
Wolfer, right?
Does he know how pistol works, for example? I'm not sure about that.
That's
Oh,
actually a
well,
good point. He's been
yeah, but
traveling so much since Wargroove 2
Like,
came out. Like, he might not. I actually think that's a good point. He might lose a game based on an interaction
a
he's just
knowledge
unfamiliar with.
check, yeah.
Yeah.
You might
ooh,
get knowledge checked.
that's fair, yeah.
And
But
Sparky, so I saw a lot of Sparky actually in Concert of Arania. Because like he keeps fighting our team because we're neighbors and we keep having matches with him. And I will say, Sparky is pretty good and has some. I mean, I'm not gonna say too much because I feel like that would be a bit like revealing some of his prep, I guess. But Sparky has some things cooking, I guess.
we didn't talk about play styles. I talked about, the types of players and their path to improvement. How do you feel? How would you classify Sparky's play style?
Uh, Sparky is a player that can formulate win cons and keep them in mind throughout a game, even when he's behind. And that's a really good thing to have as a player, I feel. So like Sparky will be playing the game. Maybe like fundamentals aren't like the best because like he's a newer player, but he will know that he has some win cons on the map and play towards them. And so yeah, it's Sparky has like a good strategical mind, I will say.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Although I haven't seen that much. Whereas Sedson, maybe a bit more tactical, right?
Yeah, Sejun very likes to fights a lot, and eventually wins through fighting.
Yeah. And he likes slow grind games too. Usually fighting, you think about,
What?
big attacks. Yes, Sedson super likes grind games.
What?
Yeah, Sejun also likes lethals.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Sejun attacks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
attacks
he
in a grindy way.
attacks. Yeah. There are attacks. When I say attack, aggressive player, I mean somebody who would play super aggressive and try to win the game super fast. But says yes, he likes he prefers attacking over being attacked. But in general, he likes lots of combat to happen with a lot of units, and he doesn't stop units from building up a bit before his attack. Like it's weird. He's in a way aggressive, but he also plays control a lot because he was used to playing sets in Wargroove 1. It's kind of hard to explain it exactly,
I
but
mean,
he's
I
good
will
at playing
say,
grindy games from behind
I will
because
say
played so
Sedgen
much
tries,
sets.
like, Sedgen has two win cons. Like, the first one is lethals. Sedgen loves lethals. The second one is killing more of your army. And, like, most of his games, he just tries to kill your army more than you kill his. And,
Okay,
that's
sneaky,
not always the thing you should do on the map.
I'm gonna
sneaky.
say
Anything
from
to
right
say?
now. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sneaky any final words because you kind of skipped your turn, so you should say some final words now.
No, I was just gonna give a prediction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You can go first with the
Prediction?
prediction then.
All
Okay,
right,
you guys
I
start.
would say that they're really hard to predict, given that Sejun played at a really high level when Wargroove 2 came out, and then stopped playing Wargroove 2. I think it could go either way, but I'm going to predict, just based on play recently in prep, that Sparky takes it 2-1.
Saykoya?
I will say Sparky 2-0s, and that's gonna be my spicy pick.
Ha.
Could go either way, but that's how I'm gonna predict.
I mean, that's fair. I almost said 2-0. I think Sejun will get one, though.
Really? I think it's gonna be much closer than that. Yeah, Setson can get knowledge checked, but
I
Sparty can
feel
get
like
experience
I feel
checked.
like this set will be a 2-0 is what I'm like. It's gonna
Really?
like it's close, but playstyle wise, I feel like the two games will probably be similar to each other.
Yeah, no,
So
like
it will
I
be a
know what you
2-0.
mean. Like I almost feel like my 2-1 is an average, and it's going to be 2-0 one way or the other. But I'm
Yeah.
just looking towards Sparky having the 2-0.
I disagree. I think it's gonna be 2-1, no matter what.
Okay. Well,
I
who
think
do you think's gonna win?
that's a very very hard question, but uh,
But do you think they're gonna draw?
no, I'll pick Setson. I'll pick
Okay.
Setson.
Okay.
If you ask me tomorrow, I might say Sparty, but like I'll say Setson right now. I feel like yes, Setson can get knowledge checked, but I think Sparty can get experience checked and fundamentals checked.
I
I think Setson can clutch it out.
I think Sparky will win, but if Sejun 2-0'd him, I wouldn't be surprised, is the way I'd put it. Like, if Sejun just was, like, completely on form out of nowhere and just wins, like, absolutely crushes, like, that also wouldn't surprise me. But I think Sparky will win. And it's just because when Sejun is on, like, when his game is on form, like, he is really scary to play against. And it's just about whether he can be in that point. But also, if Sejun tries to knock his own units using a Ragnar Groove, and he just doesn't realize it's not a thing, that also wouldn't surprise me.
Okay, I
Should
think
be
we
a
can go to the
thing.
next
Yeah,
one.
I think.
I'm the only one who has picked Seds here, right?
Yep.
Damn, I didn't
I
expect
mean,
Seds to
no
be in
hard
100.
feelings said, but I'm gonna say Sparky.
Well,
Sedge sends me a lot of holiday photos, which I appreciate. I do like receiving the holiday photos. It's
he's
very
in holiday
interesting.
right now. That's why he isn't here.
Yeah,
He's in
but
some island.
somewhere. I mean, he's always somewhere. Like, he's been
He's
traveling.
in
Like,
your
when we
country.
say
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
been traveling a lot, we mean like
I
a
didn't want to
lot.
dox him too
So,
hard, so I just said island. But yeah,
Oh,
he's
yep,
in.
yeah, gotcha.
but yeah, I mean, who knows at this point? He could be like in any of like several different countries.
I
but-
thought he'd still be in Rome today, but no, he's
who
not.
knows?
In Rome
Like,
today.
I kind of lose track.
Ah.
I just enjoy the photos he sends and appreciate them.
I'm just gonna say Ritzhan.
Okay, but
I mean, I don't know for sure, but guessing by how much he's on vacation. Damn.
I mean, you can travel around Europe pretty portably. But anyway, next one. So we're also gonna go with another host's game, Zested versus TheSneakyDragon.
Ooh.
Oh no, it's my turn to be roasted.
Well, I think this is gonna be like super ironic because Sneaky has been picking Zested as one of his favorites to win. And I've said since like the first time he said it that Zested is kind of washed and okay, he good player, but maybe not favorite to win. And now it's super funny because Sneaky is gonna have to disprove his own prediction. That's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna let you guys go now.
I have no idea who wins this because I
Oh,
think
shouldn't we
both
talk
of
about the
them.
players first?
I think
Yeah,
no, but
We're
like
gonna
I'm
do
gonna do
this
that
every
in by
turn.
talking about the players, right?
Okay, I
that is a
guess.
comment on the players. Like I just like they're both really good. Like Sneaky and Zested are both really good when they want to be, but I mean, someone in chat saying Zested has a mental block. I also agree. Like I do think Zested can kind of trip over themselves a bit at points too. But it's just a case of like it really comes down to like which Zested and which TheSneakyDragon show up. Because I think they're both great players, when they want to be or when they are at their best. But um, I think you guys make a good point. Like I don't think Zested is at his best right now, and sorry, Sneaky, I don't think you're at your best right now either. But that's also based on things you've said to me. So
I think that, well, basically, throughout this whole podcast, I have glanced that Sneaky is taking the event somewhat seriously. Not like super serious, but is at least like aware of what's happening. And I know Sneaky like watches some ranked games sometimes. Uh Zested is also like, I mean, they're both like somewhat active in ranked. I will say purely from from what I heard from Sneaky this podcast, I'll give it to Sneaky. um, but yeah, Zested. I mean, recently has been like surrendering early, so I guess like maybe won't do super well from behind. Um, maybe not. Maybe in tournament, like he'll be more motivated to keep playing. So we'll see. Hard to make a hard call, but I will definitely say Sneaky.
Sneaky, what do you think?
I think I'm gonna lose 2-0. All right, so here's the thing. Zested is my counter. Zested's weaknesses and strengths line up to mine in a very unfavorable way to me. Like, there was a period of time where people I could consistently beat could beat Zested, but Zested would always beat me. But more than that, like, I haven't been that great health-wise lately. I've been active ranked in, like, the past few days, but I didn't play any Wargroove for months before that. So I think I'm kind of washed at this point. Like, I think everyone's aware that, well, I'm posturing a little bit. I actually don't know most of these maps. Like, and
Right.
I haven't really gone that far in Wargroove 2 in terms, like, I don't even know what half the commanders do. Normally I learn that stuff through making videos, but because there's still some bugs and balances, I haven't been making those videos, and I've been considering moving on from Wargroove. So like, I'm kind of washed. I think I could win, but my prediction is Zested wins 2-0.
Wow. And I want to say, like, both Zested and Sneaky have been super scary players throughout the years. But yeah, they're both washed at this point. And the question is, who's gonna show up less washed for the set? So, in my opinion, Sneaky has been shown to be less affected by being washed. Like, when Zested is washed, he's really washed. When Sneaky is washed, I mean, you can see he's not the same, but he's not that worse, in my opinion. And I also think Sneaky derusts faster and has a higher ceiling. And so, because of all those things, because Sneaky has been better, done better in the past, and because I think Zested has a harder time derust, I will give the Sneaky. That said, the health issues are not a joke. So like
Uh,
Sneaky being worried about his health and not getting to play when he would have wanted to play even, that will change things. And although I'm dunking on Zested a bit for being washed, he has been spamming ranked a lot. So maybe he's, I think he's starting to get closer to his unwashed state. So while I think Sneaky will win, I don't think it's. Uh, I think it's closer than I would have thought if you asked me like 2 weeks ago. And I do think Zested will take one game.
I mean, I'm gonna say I think it's really gonna depend on the maps they play on, and like, cause like Zested tends to get like stuck into one opening, and like if it's the good opening, then great. If it's not the good opening, then not so great. So yeah, maybe it really depends on like the maps and like I guess the drafting might be very important in this set. So we'll see.
Barrett?
All right, we're going just predictions at this point, right?
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
hard. I think, like, actually, I really don't know. It really comes down to like, there's like such a huge variance in like how, like you said, washed they are, for lack of a better word. Whereas, like, if depending on who like hits their like gets closer back to being on form, I think they'll probably take it. But I mean, this is going to sound really harsh, but I think this could be one of the worst sets potentially of the first round, just because like
Oh,
I could see both players making mistakes depending on like how well they're playing. But I also hope that isn't the case. Like I genuinely want this to be a good set, and I want it to like be an
I'll say
interesting
really
watch.
quickly, I don't think it's going to be very. Because Zested, I dunked on him maybe a bit too much. Because I've seen him a lot when he was like more worse than this, but recently he has been derased pretty properly because he played so many games.
Okay,
So, I still think he's not like at peak Zested level. Well, he's extremely scary where I was so sure I'd lose to him at some point. He's not there, but he's not like, as he was a few months ago where he was so washed.
yeah,
Mr.
I
Cat.
think that might also be a factor. I think the last time I saw Zested play was a few months ago, so I'm basing more of my opinion on what I've seen, like TYM game wise, right, as opposed to.
Yeah.
But I mean, I hope it's a good set. I really do, and I hope both players show up and are like feeling on form when they do play, and I hope everything goes well. But
So prediction.
I don't know. I actually genuinely can't predict.
I mean, I'm gonna say 2-1 Sneaky. And I mean, part of it is that, you always kind of want Sneaky to win, right? It's Sneaky. Even when it's playing against you. You kind of want
I
Sneaky to
wouldn't go
win,
that
right?
far. Also, you threw the Sneaky in the last finals. How dare
I
you?
know, right? Like, come on, win a bit more.
No, but how
Give
dare
me
you
I
more
say
will
you
say,
games.
want?
for the sake of my pride, since this has been a long roast, that I am the reigning world Wargroove 1 world number 2. And I
Yeah, there's
probably
that.
will be for all time.
Yeah, that's also
Damn.
fair. Okay, next one. We've got
Yeah.
4 more to go, and I think we'll wrap things
Damn.
up after that. Derek versus D
Will so
Inferno.
much harsh on others than me compared to me.
I mean,
Oh, yeah, you keep
uh,
winning.
True. All right.
Derek
Well,
famously upset me. You know.
yeah, Derek, super strong showing in qualifier one. Couldn't quite close it out against some random opponent in the final.
Yeah.
Um,
So
but
like,
still very strong showing.
can I start with Derek? Because I lost to him, so I should start, right?
Okay. I was
Get my
just gonna say
revenge.
like, uh, have seen him like sporadically since, but very strong showing
He
then.
plays a lot of TYM. I
Oh
won't
yeah, I
give him that.
haven't
Okay.
seen him much.
He does really well in TYM from what I've seen. But
So yeah,
go on.
I underestimated Derek and then I lost. So it serves me right. But like, I think I was justified because last time I played him, he was like bad. and then suddenly he's very good, very strong fundamentals, very good attacking instincts. I mean, he still had flaws, but I was also worst, okay, to my defense. But he just played better than me that set, and that was, interesting. So, out of nowhere, very strong. And Derek isn't a new player. He has been in the community for quite some time, but he plateaued at a much lower level. And then suddenly Wargroove 2 comes out, the open starts, and then he skyrockets to a much higher level. And usually this doesn't happen. People who plateau at one level tend to just kind of stay there forever, or at some point slowly increase a little, but they don't just jump up to a completely different skill level. So that's weird, and it means he has a chance to win it all. I don't think he's one of the big favorites, especially since he hasn't played that much live since. But he's in the picture for the championship, and his playstyle is very, very, very aggressive. He builds knights, he builds dog. He likes getting a quick early econ advantage and building golems on you. I wouldn't trust him with controls. I wouldn't trust him to play very good defense. But I think he can pilot aggressive COs very well, and he is a real threat when that's a good strategy on the map. That said, not well enough to break the defensive formations of somebody super good at defense, specifically Saykoya, and that's why later he met Saykoya and couldn't break through and got 2-0. So I think Derek's super good, won't be able to beat Saykoya. So even if he gets even better, I don't think he wins the tournament very often.
So people in chat are mentioning stuff about Derek, which I also kind of agree with. I mean, Derek, if this was a Fog of War tournament, I think Derek wins. Like Derek is
I might
really
agree
good.
with that.
Sorry?
I think I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, like he is
Like-
an absolute monster in that format.
I don't know anything about Fog, so I'll defer to you.
I think he's just won every Fog game. He's like the space front of Fog. When it comes to TYM, he just kind of wins all of them. He's just ridiculously good at Fog. So that's like one thing someone in chat's pointing out, and I agree with. And like, someone else disobeyed in chat saying he's the only player that had a match with 0 unit deaths and won, like until like 0 before like the lethal turn, right? So yeah, like he can definitely play like a very passive game if he wants to. So, I think that's like an interesting point about his playstyle.
I will say,
anecdotal evidence.
I will say during qualifier 1, Derek kind of had one commander syndrome, I guess, where like most of their good games were on Wolfar. And since then, like, first of all, we now know that's the case, so people might ban Wolfar against him. And second, Wolfar got nerfed. So, like, Derek, I mean, I've seen into when Derek playing other commanders, so I assume, and he's had the time to like practice other commanders. I mean, learn other commanders is probably a more apt way to say it. But yeah,
I think he also plays Pist.
yeah. I mean, we'll see if anyone gets to play pistol.
Yeah, that's pistol should be banned basically every game. So, but Wolfer should
I
be
mean,
open
we'll
a lot.
see. Yeah, I
a big
mean,
question is, can he play Greenfinger? Because Greenfinger is kind of aggro, but not as aggro as Wolfar. And if they do ban Wolfar, they probably have to leave Greenfinger open. So if he can
yeah,
learn to play Greenfinger well and integrate him playstyle, which I think is very doable for him, even if he starts now that he's hearing this, I think that can round out his game very well. Otherwise, he's vulnerable to getting banned, right?
yeah. Unless like well, that's like the impression I had during Qual 1. Like, Derek wasn't like the best at picking the correct commander for the map, basically.
Yeah.
And I think in this map pool, it's kind of important. No further comment.
I do have to ask at this point because we're an hour and a half over time.
I mean, we didn't have a super strict time limit though. The
Yeah,
idea was to
I
try
was
to
hoping to
keep.
finish pretty. Like we should just try and get through the rest of these pretty quickly. I think.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. D'inferno.
Sneaky didn't say anything about.
Okay. Well,
All right, you guys
can-
kind of covered it. I feel.
Okay.
This way, we're never hearing Sneaky. You go first for the Inferno.
Okay, I'll go first next time. No, for the rating. I say Derek 999.
Oh, for the
2-1.
Inferno. Wait. Before predictions, like the Inferno.
Yeah.
Inferno. Let's talk
Oh,
about.
D'Inferno, right. Overall decent player.
Yeah,
That's all.
yeah. I think I'd actually agree with that. Like the Inferno, nice guy, good player. I don't have much else to say. I hope we get to see more from him this tournament, and then I have more to say. But
Yeah,
Huh.
D'Inferno like is pretty good, but doesn't stand out in any way. I guess, which isn't like a positive or negative.
That's interesting. I have some things to say. First of all, you neglected to mention the Inferno is like a super veteran. He has been playing for like forever. Yeah. He's one of the old heads. You know, some crafty vet skills, like lots of experience. That said, Derek has also been here for a while. And the Inferno, I'd also like to say, haven't seen that much of even though he's been playing for a while. He wasn't the most active during the periods where I was the most active. But from the little I've seen of him recently, it seems like he isn't. I don't want to say he doesn't do tactics well. He does tactics fine, but the tactical and aggro short-term attacking playstyle isn't his thing. He's more of a big map. My opinion, again, I haven't seen that much of him, so I might be off. I think he's a bit more of a big map, more strategical, slow-paced kind of player. Won't necessarily say aggressive or defensive, although usually more controlling players and more strategical players tend to be more defensive. Uh, but I think he leans on the longer and larger scale, being good at those engagements versus the more early, quick few unit tactics. That's the idea, but I haven't seen that much. Am I correct? Saykoya maybe has a better idea.
I'm not sure. I haven't watched Inferno too closely. I know they've been around for a long time, but that's it.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah,
a
for
solid player, but
yeah,
Yeah.
solid player.
All right, let's
you
do
For
would
predictions
expect
then.
Derek.
predictions,
You would
yeah,
expect Derek to win.
yeah, predictions. I would say just 2-0 from Derek, just from the first qualifier performance. To be honest,
Sneaky?
Derek 2-1.
Hmm. Barrett?
I would say Derek 2-0, but if the Inferno does take a game, like that wouldn't surprise me either.
I do want to say, although Derek is the better player and will take the set, I'm almost certain. I'm also almost certain that the Inferno will take a game because I feel like Derek has holes in his skill set, and the Inferno being a more balanced player, I think one game on the right map, I think it's very very likely that he will take. Also, we haven't seen Derek that much, so if he hasn't been
oh
practicing much,
yeah, actually
he's
reminds
also
me where like
the less
like
fresh player probably.
there was a set. The Inferno is actually really good at heist.
Yeah, I agree.
Like
Which is
yeah,
the more tactical long
yeah.
term map.
So if they play on heist, then the Inferno might like have an easier time there, I guess.
I
Yeah,
mean,
and I think
just on the activity thing though, like Derek has been playing TYM every month, so like he has been playing.
TYM is not the same though. I
True,
don't know if he's
but
been
like,
playing
but it's
that.
not like he hasn't been playing Wargroove. Like he's definitely been keeping up, and he's been winning every game he's been playing in Fog and TYM. So like, um,
Okay.
he's definitely solid. But anyway, right, next one, Warble MVAKM. I mean, I'll do like the Warble spiel because I'm the Warble fanboy of the community. Not in a weird way, but I just like he's someone I have a lot of respect for because he came in completely new to Wargroove 2 as far as I know. Like he hadn't been playing any events before then, and quickly rose to like the top of TYM, and he wasn't beating Searing Blight, or not Searing Blight. He wasn't beating Spacefront,
Baseball.
but he was definitely like making people have to work in the top echelon of players. And while I don't think Warble will win the event, like I'm really excited to see Warble play, and I'm excited to see like him go far. And like I think he's just like got a lot of really good ideas of like how to play. I think he does map prep very well. Especially like the opening 5 turns or 5 or 6 turns of every map. I think he'll have like pretty good solid openings, at least from what I've seen. So yeah, that's kind of just my thoughts on Warble.
So Warble is the other person who got an upset over me this time in qualifier 2. Again, very strong player. I'd say the moment I got upset by Derek, and the moment I got upset by Warble, I felt at those moments Derek was slightly stronger. But I feel like Warble has shown a faster improvement rate in general. I mean, he's way newer. And then I feel like Warble has a more broad, complete play style. So he doesn't have like a ceiling. I feel Derek has had that ceiling where I don't think he will ever beat Saykoya. I mean, okay, maybe the stars will align. I think it's almost impossible. Whereas Warble, if he keeps improving at the rate he has shown he can improve, has a better chance to take the whole thing. And that's crazy because he's so new. So it's very, very exciting to watch Warble play. Again, more complete than Derek, but I still think he's also a player that leans on the aggressive side a bit. But I think he can play most game states. Correct me if I'm
Okay.
Sneaky.
I will say, there's always that question of like, does your async performance hold up in live game? And I don't think I've been convinced yet by Warble for live play. Like his Warble's good performance was against Mastro, and that was at a time where Mastro was like trying out to some stuff, like where he was treating the tournaments more as training than taking it like seriously, like a tournament, I guess.
Yeah, I was a bit worse than trying out
And
stuff, but still, I
that means
felt
that
his
like
strength.
yeah, but I feel like Warble didn't feel any timer pressure yet, and
Oh, that's true.
and I didn't have like, and this is I think this is something where like I could do a very different prediction for Warble round 2, but right now I didn't see a Warble live showing yet, so and I think this set will be very interesting to watch.
Sneaky?
What are we talking about? Warble, MVAC M?
Warble,
Yep.
and then you can start with MVAC M after.
We're gonna go on to 6 hours if we continue on this format.
I mean, it's just
There's
a few
only
more.
2 more sets after this,
We're
so we're
so
almost
close.
there.
Yeah, and we're not doing the tier list, right?
Warble, are they a map maker?
I think they are in the committee, but I don't think they make maps. I think they're in the
They
map.
Neither
made,
of these
I
players
think
are
they
in the
made
map
some
committee.
maps, but none of them are in the pool.
But I think
Look, I had an operation like 2 days ago. I'm sorry, Goose. I'm a little. Warple. Right. I think Warple's been opening well on account of the map stuff. I think just being in a map committee means you know how to open on the map.
They aren't in the
and
map
that's pretty
committee,
good.
but just to
But
clarify.
they know how to open regardless, usually.
Are they not on the map committee? I thought they
No.
were on the map committee. I'm getting mixed up. I
thought
also thought
said
Warble
they should
existed in
join.
Wargroove 1. I might be combining Warble with another person.
Oh,
Like
Wargroove is the mapper who was
right,
also.
Wargably. That's who I was thinking.
That's not the same. That's not the same. So
But-
Warble isn't the mapper, but I think he got into the map committee, the map team, or whatever it's called, without being a mapper somehow.
Was that Warple or Wargably?
Wargably has always been in the map team.
I
War
give up.
gambling. But
I don't know who we're talking about. I can't give commentary. I'm sorry.
MVACM has been has had a drop in level of play from Wargroove 1 to Wargroove 2, but recently has just been playing a lot of ranked games. And historically, MVACM kind of like came out of nowhere in a tournament, and they just became good by just playing a lot of games, and they're doing that again this time. So
Yeah,
but
I
he's
I
think
mean, from what I've seen, at least from my perspective, MVACM is like very consistent at making like top 8 in every event. At least like from what I remember, he just seems really like good at like that kind of like very solid player, has a lot of experience. Hasn't made top 3 ever, I don't believe. So he's not like a person you would say, oh, this is going to be like the champion of this event, right? But is very, very good at the game. Does that sound
Yep.
fair?
I think
yeah, I guess.
while this is fair, okay, I was wrong. Warble is not in the map, or at least it doesn't. I don't know how I have listened to that. I was not mistaking him for Wargarble. I just thought he was in the committee anyway. Anyway, MVKM, I think he's very worst. I think he's more worse than Zested right now.
Yeah, but he's on an upwards trend right now and going up very fast.
I think,
He's been playing
actually,
tons of
another
games.
factor, I think it's MVACM who's going to be away for a couple weeks in the first round. So, scheduling thing is also going to be an issue with this set.
Oh yeah,
I think,
MVKM is gonna have to play the game really quickly, leave, and then play the second round right after he returns.
yeah. So, that actually, I think, is also going to play into both his first and second round matches.
Oh, I also want to talk about it. We didn't talk about his playstyle though. Nah, just dunk
Oh,
it.
We're running low on time at this
Just a
point.
second.
would-
I'm just gonna say he's an intuitive, aggressive player, which is the playstyle Sue has. So back in the day, I thought he had great potential to be the next Sue. He didn't live up to it, but still, if he ever like improves a lot, that's really scary because Sue was pretty good at the game, and he's a very aggressive player again.
Okay.
Cool for player too.
Right.
My last point shortly, MVACM is a fast player, and Warble is
Oh, that's a
not
good point.
super fast, so I will predict MVACM 2-0 here until Warble proves me otherwise.
Okay.
Wow, Sneaky.
I think I am very confused and I'm getting Warble mixed up with someone else. But I have this like memory of Warble being a part of the creation of some of these maps and then like doing really good openings. And I feel like that combined with MVACM being on vacation, I don't know. I think this is a coin flip. I think either one can win. It could go either way. I'll give it a Warple, but it might be a result of my currently addled brain.
Okay. I think Warble, but I think you make a good point about timers, but also MVACM has to deal with the stress of about to be going away for a couple of weeks. So there's a lot of like outside factors into this particular set that I think could influence it. So it isn't necessarily just all on player skill.
So prediction.
Yeah, I think Warble will take it, but
Hmm.
there are other factors as well. So
2-0 or 2-1?
I don't think they have enough time to play all 3 games, so probably a 2-0. But I could be wrong on that.
Nah, they can play 3 games. They have 3 days or
Yeah,
something.
and they've had time to schedule, so
Warble 2-0, in my opinion. I think Warble is at this point, at this moment in time, although Warble hasn't been playing that much recently, ever since he qualified. No, if Warble was playing the whole time, then I think easy 2-0. But MVKM has been spamming game and Warble hasn't. So actually, no, I'm gonna say it's Warble still, but 2-1.
okay. Right, next set. Uh Skyro KHB. I mean we do need to go quickly on this. So like Skyro has been in like such a solid player on Wargroove 2. He's part of the map committee as well, so he knows all the maps, like, and he's done a bunch of testing on them. So like, he isn't. I don't think he's gonna get caught off guard by anything unless like someone really pulls something out of the hat. But Skyro's just like really, really good right now.
Skyro has been not super recently, not the past week, but like up until the past week or two or something, Skyro has been spamming games more than anybody. He had also been spamming maps, and he is now the best mapper and one of the best players, maybe second best player right now, I feel, after Saykoya. I think he's one of the big favorites. He's shown super rapid improvement recently, and yeah, super solid all around. I think I've found some holes in his game, but I don't want to talk about them because I might need to use them because he's actually super scary for me. Um, so you guys can go, but super strong player and rapid improvement again, and a bit of an all-rounder.
Yeah,
Next
pretty
time we do
much.
this, we should like assign
Skyro.
2 people to talk about one, 2 people to talk about the other.
Yeah, I think that's true. Okay, shall we just go KHB next then?
Yeah, I mean, KHB, long player, regularly plays, has that very peculiar play style that you can associate with him, and that very aggressive, uh, fighting a lot play style, and also loves going for strongholds. Um, so yeah, that's KHB. To keep it short, I guess. Super aggressive.
Yeah, like every
The
time I've
most
watched KHB
aggressive
play,
player, really.
yeah, every time I've seen KHB play, especially recently, it's been very, very aggressive. Off, like sometimes to his detriment.
Sneaky, your take on KHP?
The absolute best player when it works.
Yeah, I agree. He has a very, very specific game plan. And it's aggro, but it's a unique kind of aggro. He aggroes with units you would expect him to defend with. Like he aggroes with Spike Balloon. And it leads into games that are somehow both super aggro and also kind of grindy. And it's weird.
Okay, predictions.
I will say this is a rough matchup for KHB because Skyro is super solid and Skyro knows the maps, so Skyro's not gonna get surprised. Like maybe the one weakness I would give to Skyro, like real quick, would be that Skyro doesn't experiment that much, but Skyro is just super solid, so KHB, we're gonna have a rough time. I will say Skyro 2-0 here. And it's just like KHB kind of unlucky to get Skyro round one.
I think KHB, for some reason, is the opposite of everyone else, where most people, it's a tournament. I will be better than usual. KMP or KHB, whichever version. It's a tournament. I'm going to be worse than usual. I don't know what it is, but they're the only player that performs significantly worse than usual when in the World Tournament.
Oh, can I say a quick word about that? I feel like KSP is really good at prepping a map by playing it, but he never preps a map like on his own, like in a science sort of. So when he's playing ranked and everybody's playing ranked, most people aren't super good at improving their openings very quickly through just playing the game. Some exceptions, Saykoya, for example. Most people wanna just either are just bad at prep in general, or they need like some time to just look at the map on their own and science. So KHB usually finds some good lines early on, or at least some interesting lines that you have trouble refuting, and he gets an early econ advantage, and that enables his otherwise unorthodox playstyle. So in ranked, that's very good. In a real tournament where people have more prep and are very solid, he can't get that early advantage, and then his weird playstyle, it's weird for a reason. It's very hard to make it work without an econ advantage or an econ disadvantage. So I think that's why that happens, and I think Skyro won't let him get the Deacon advantage, and I think 2-0 for Skyro.
Okay, so we all 2-0 Skyro.
I mean, Skyro's just that good, I guess.
Yeah, like he really is. And if KHB had a different matchup in round one, like I could see KHB doing well, but yeah, like that is, the not so unstoppable object hitting the immovable object, or however that saying goes.
I mean, I think this was KHB's second worst matchup for round one. I mean, those are also the two best players. But even if you say that suddenly I'm not worse and I'm at my peak and I'm better than Skyro, I still think KHB would have a better chance versus me than versus Skyro. Because he throws me off my game sometimes, and then it can be hard for me. Whereas, yeah, Skyro is super solid, super bad matchup for KHB. Just
Okay.
really unlucky with the seeding this time.
Yeah.
So if he pulls out a win, it'll be crazy. We'll have to update our predictions and say KHB, big favorite now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing KHB in lower rounds. Like, I think that's going to be a lot of exciting matches. But
I mean,
yeah, just unfortunate
I
round one.
think even seeing how Skyro responds to KHB is gonna be interesting.
Okay, right. Sneaky's dying at this point, so let's get to the last one. Zigma versus
The last
Spottius.
one.
I mean, I'll start with Spottius. I think Spottius is really solid and plays very well, but I've mostly been seeing him in like TYM as opposed to in ranked, so like maybe the timer skews that, but like as far as I'm concerned, Spottius has always been a really good player, and but maybe like not as consistent, but playing timed as opposed to async. But I'm very excited to see Spottius here.
I will say Spadius is a very confident player, so everything I said about confident players when talking about Disobeyed also applies. I will say like Spadius also has like even more like solid fundamentals compared to Disobeyed. So Spadius is like really scary. Yeah,
Spottius is
that's
the
about
dark
it.
horse of this tournament. If someone unexpected is going to win, their name is probably Spottius.
It is
I
funny
can
how it's
see that.
always Spottius as well. Like nobody, I don't think anybody's like, oh, Spottius is like they're the first person name that comes to mind about who's gonna win. But like Spottius just like has deep runs and just smashes people, and it's like, oh, it happened again.
In the past, Spottius's biggest weakness has been consistency. Like Spottius will just oops and lose games, and consistently be inconsistent and lose games. So they were never going to get to the top of the World Championship. But I think they've gotten good enough right now that I could see it happening. I think they've covered enough of the holes in their gameplay that they can take that crazy what the heck are they doing and do it over and over again without just dropping games.
So
Yeah.
I feel like Spottius is very solid in everything else except the opening. Like with the opening, he sometimes tries some very experimental stuff, and he kind of makes it work, but not against the best players playing with like top prep and stuff. So I think that's usually a weakness. Sometimes it can be a strength if it all works out, but you know, more often than not, I'd say he's like behind out of the opening, and then he has to outplay you. And sometimes he does outplay you, but
All right.
moving on to Sigma. I don't know much about Sigma. I heard he did very well in like quick play, but I've almost never seen him play.
Oh yeah, he's one of the people that, that came from quick play and was seeded through the quick play rating, and then did really well in the qualifier they played in.
Yep, it's a Wargroove 2 newcomer and has been improving since they joined. So, gonna keep an eye on them. I don't think they can quite beat Sparius yet, but gonna keep an eye on them regardless.
Anybody
I
have
like,
any more information on Sigma? I just don't know much about him, so I
yeah,
don't actually feel
He,
super
they're
he
like
plays
confident.
pretty
TYM quite
new.
a bit as well. I've definitely
Uh,
commentated. I remember uploading. I remember typing Zigma's name into like a YouTube like title into a thumbnail recently. So he's been
so
active. He's been
what's
playing a bunch. I don't recall much about those games because I commentate so many games. there isn't anything that like massively stands out about Sigma, but I do think they're just a good player in general.
Well, there is one big thing about Sigma. If you notice their name and you take the Z and you squish the diagonal so that it's vertical from the top left of the horizontal line to the bottom left of the other horizontal line, and then turn the one sideways and slap it on to make an E, and then rearrange the letters you have left, it spells the word game.
Okay.
Okay, I guess we'll give him 1 for that. I'll say 2 on Spadius. And even if Sigma doesn't win 1, he will still have the game from his lane.
Okay.
Cool. Sneaky?
Prediction. Yeah. Sneaky, what's your prediction? You can go.
I think Saykoya's logic was impeccable at 2-1 Spadius.
Lol. I mean, I agree with the 2-1 Spotius, I guess. I don't know almost anything about Sigma, but I say, like, just because of Spotius' inconsistencies, I think he'll drop a game. I'm basically predicting the game Spotius versus somebody I don't know much about, so I'm like, okay, Spotius will probably win, but Spotius will also drop a game, right?
I'm actually gonna agree. I think Spotty is 2-1 over Sigma, but Sigma is such like an unknown in a lot of ways, especially like I haven't seen Sigma play on a timer in a long time. So
he could surprise us.
yeah, he really could. And actually Spottius is okay on timer, but not the fastest from what I recall. Whereas Sigma primarily came from quick play, where you have to play quick. So
Ooh, so there could be like timer moments. Oh, that's interesting. So I think it's fair to expect Sigma to get 1 game, right?
yeah, I think that's fair.
I don't think Sigma will get a game from the timer because Spadius' game, like he tends to do an all-in before he runs out of timer. So yeah.
That's also Spotius likes big. Well, if his all-in fails, he might not necessarily be lost. So then it could turn. Anyway.
Okay. I mean that's everybody. I think yeah, we had a good time looking through this. Sorry, it took a lot longer than expected. We aren't going to do the tier list this week. I think we should do it next one, and we can talk a little bit about the matches that have happened at that point as well. Because I think a bunch of people will want to play their matches sooner rather than later. Or Warble MVA game have to play it.
Yeah, some have to.
They have to play in the next like few days.
Sneak
I
and
think, actually.
Zested, yeah, will also be playing soon. Sneak
Yep.
it also. No.
Bless you.
Thank
I
you.
do want to mention one quick thing before we go and wrap things up, and that is prizes. So I just want to say very much a thank you to Chucklefish for providing. They're going to provide us with 8 T-shirts and a copy of like a physical edition of Wargroove 1 and 2 for Nintendo Switch. So that comes with like a bunch of like stuff in the box as well. So if you don't own a Switch, I guess you could give it to your friend or just put it on a shelf or something. But it does come with some other physical stuff in the box. So.
But the best prize has always been the right to make your own emote.
Oh yes, and you get the
Oh
emo slot
right,
in
of
the main
of
server.
course, right.
So,
Saykoya is like making the weird noises right now because he still hasn't made his emote from his win in Groove War 8. That was like ages ago, it feels. So, go and do that.
as is tradition, every tournament winner gets an emote slot on the main Wargroove server, and they get to, within reason, choose whatever they want. Shoes one is particularly cursed.
It's been
Which
so
one?
good, actually.
All 3.
All 3. I don't even remember what the other ones are. I just know that like the
I mean, the Groove of
Thomas
War
face.
4 one. Yeah,
everybody loves.
that's such a banger. It's the best by far.
It's such
so.
a good emote as well, but it's super cursed.
And I was so against it at the time when Sue was saying I should make this the emote. I was like, no, but now I use it every day. Okay,
it's
no, not
pretty
every.
good. I've seen a few variants of it too, but
It's giga based, so
Yeah.
you get the chance to win the emote meme war. You can try to make a meme that's even better than Sue's meme. So may the best meme win.
But I do want to like say specifically a thank you to Chucklefish for letting us ruin their Discord server and providing extra prizes. But and I say ruin, I mean improve, because clearly the emotes have always been great.
Exactly.
All right, so I guess like the other thing to mention, we'll be trying to do a trophy this year as well. I mean, as long as the person who wins is comfortable with us sending a trophy to either them or someone else they know who lives near them that they can just collect. So, yeah, we'll
That's
have
cool.
more details on that. We did it in the past. I think there was something like the trophy didn't make it or something. Like the people that provide we were doing the trophy through like didn't send us the right address or something. There was some shipping issues, but I'm not 100% sure. I think that's why we stopped doing it. But I think if we're doing it once a year, including a trophy is a good extra bonus. And finally, we have the Matcherino. There is some prize money. We are taking donations from the community as well. I think typically people will throw money in throughout the event too. So right now there's a guaranteed. There's $50 in the pool right now. How that prize pool gets distributed will depend more on like how much we have. So if we have like $50 in the prize pool, then we'll probably just give that to like the top 2 players or something. Because there's no point giving someone like $5 or whatever. Like that's like a bit almost comical.
It's barely worth the effort.
Yeah, but like
if
once
it's
you get
just
like
50, just give it all to the winner.
Yeah, I think like
Maybe.
$15 is like a good minimum or something, because at least you can like buy a copy of Wargroove for your friend or something like that, or you can like buy yourself something nice for dinner that night or something. But historically, people have like done various things with the prize pool. Like Shu basically said, "I don't need the money," which was kind of funny. Zeronix took his family to dinner, I think was what he did.
Yeah,
with
some fancy dinner.
Yeah, which was
$400 dinner. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
must have
I
been
think
pretty
he had a
cool.
little bit of money left over as well, but yeah, like people do like there isn't a huge amount of money. It's probably not life changing for most people, but
it's more than enough for a fancy dinner, right?
yeah, it's nice for people who win. So, is there a link an announcement for? We'll do an announcement. I actually still need to make the trailer, which I kind of slacked on. It'll be out this weekend. So people like kind of know that the event's going on and all that stuff. There'll be like some mention in the trailer that like the event's already started, but
And the event is gonna start right now, right?
it technically started a couple hours ago, but I haven't actually
Oh, you
officially started the
Yeah.
bracket yet. So I am gonna eat and then I'm gonna get all that sorted tonight. And I think there's like a ping I need to do about was it codes? I think was the thing. Like everybody needs to post their codes. I think that's kind of the fair thing.
Yeah.
And remember to not close the games.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, if they post the codes.
Yeah.
I did do that once. In my defense, I was so very clearly out of it, and there was proof of that.
Yeah.
I mean,
everybody is closed.
The open is not as important.
Well, I mean, you streamed your game, so there's still, it's still out there.
Oh, the
It
vote
wasn't completely
was lost, I think.
lost.
People
think we
got
lost
to
the vote.
watch it, but
I'm not sure. Well,
I think everybody does it once, right? Like we've all like accidentally closed the game that we meant to keep open. So it's not the end of the world. But I do hope we can get all of the games for this commentated. I will do every replay. So even if someone's covering it live as well, like I do think some people appreciate just being able to watch the replay of something, because like a 10-minute, 15-minute replay is much more watchable for a lot of people than an hour long live commentary. But
Yeah, that's what.
So yeah, but if people do want to cover stuff, like more than welcome to hop in and have people commenting things. And obviously like there are rules about who gets to post it on the main YouTube channel, but if you want to record for your own YouTube or whatever, that's also fine. But anyway, we've gone past the 4-hour mark. We won't do the tier list this time. Hang on, I'm just gonna like
What?
It
You
means
don't want
more
another
podcasts,
4
though.
hours?
focus. Hang on. Let me just like put Pistol at the top. There you go. There's your tier list. Pistol at number 1. All right.
Called it.
Vesper's
Called it.
better.
Y'all thought I was
Yeah.
wrong when I said that back at the beginning.
Okay.
No,
Well, there was
Vesper's slightly
Walter.
better. Yeah, back at the beginning, Sneaky, you were super wrong because.
Oh,
Father
actually,
was
it's
better.
not even showing on stream because it's cut off the left a little
Yeah,
bit.
it's anyway.
Let
I'm
me-
just gonna say we were supposed to make this way less than 4 hours, but I'm kind of happy. We talked about a lot of stuff.
We did
I
talk
like
about a lot of
talking about stuff.
Um,
I feel kind of sorry for Sneaky, who
He's
didn't
probably
enjoy the
gonna
past hour.
sleep now,
Yeah.
I imagine, or have some food or a nap or something. But anyway, thank you everybody. We're just gonna call it there.
A clap for the start of the tournament. Let's all clap.
Yeah.
Tournament is starting.
Whoa!
Okay. It's cool.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna start seeing games over the next few days. And yeah, just keep an eye on the Groove of War YouTube. This will be posted probably tomorrow. So this will be posted on the Thursday. So the tournament will be underway at that point, and everybody can check everything out. But for now, thank you everybody for tuning in. Anybody, any last thoughts before we go, Mastro? Very, very quickly.
Nah, I'm happy the tournament's starting.
All right, Saykoya, last thoughts.
Yeah, I'm gonna win, right?
Hells yeah. All right,
Right?
Sneaky, last thoughts. Yeah, okay, right, we're off.
I agree.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you when we see you.